Brokeback Brewery didn't test well with audiences.
Gotcha.
Jason, you said oh,
I can't quit you, beer.
That's pretty good. What were you about to say, Chris?
a lot of pale ale in that one. Huh?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hoppy Craftsmen. I'm Jeff.
Yep.
I'm Chris.
Yep.
Sorry, I was taking a drink.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, this is Nate. What's up, guys?
And we are here as professionals at the Shop
Yeah.
Beer Company in
You
Tempe.
wouldn't know it.
With Dave, Jason, and Dylan. So tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah, what you guys do here? Start with you, Dave.
Hello, everyone. So this is Dave, and I'm chief of paperwork over here.
Wow. Chief of paperwork. That sounds like fun. It's probably a little more exciting than that.
Not much more exciting than that.
Perfect.
But it keeps me employed, so.
Right.
That's the way to do
A
it.
job you probably like to have, so that's nice. At least a place you like to come. You'd think.
Yeah, I have a place to park my car during the daytime hours.
Perfect. It's got your name on it. Awesome. So we also got
green paperwork coming in, a lot more green paperwork going out.
Oh, there's so much going out. It's crazy.
All right, we also got Jason here.
I'm Jason, and I do some operations and brew beer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And Dylan?
I'm Dylan, and I do the sales.
Very cool.
Keeps this business rolling.
So my first question, I actually changed it up from normally. Normally it's, we can ask that one too, but it's what beer got you into craft beer kind of thing, which everybody kind of talks about in craft beer podcasts, which is funny.
Just
That's a fun one.
I guess what just got you started, and you're like, what
This is
first
it.
beer was tasty for you?
So, it's funny because now we talk about craft beer as it's its own category. It's a thing now.
Right.
But 15 years ago, we didn't use that term. You just, whatever. I remember being at house parties when I'm like in high school. You're probably not supposed to say this in the public domain, but you get to try whatever you have access to, which is usually not very much. But the usual suspects are always running around, right? So you got I had a friend of mine who loved Busch Light. That was his beverage of choice. But I remember even all that time ago, some people would, hey, I can get a case of Busch, or I can get a 6-pack of George Killian's Irish Red, or Kilt Lifter a few years later. But I remember those beers all those years ago, even back then, I'd rather have one or two of something I wanted to drink rather than something that was kind of thin and not very much fun. And then fast forward a few years, I remember I got out of school and moved to Southern California. This was still back before really we'd carved any well-worn paths in craft. But I lived right down the street from the Pizza Port in San Clemente.
Oh, nice.
And, it was different because I'd moved over there after college, and it was just sort of normal that everyone put growlers in their car.
Right.
And coming from Phoenix and going to ASU and everything else, I didn't know anyone that did that. I mean, I was
Yeah.
aware of a growler, obviously, but
Right.
it wasn't like a regular thing. Right. And so I go out there, and I'm like, every single person I know keeps a couple of jugs in the back of their car. And I'm like, what's going on with these people?
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
But, you'd go to these little local spots, and the Pizza Port in San Clemente was the first one for me that was it was really fun to go and check them out, and there's different beers all the time.
Good beer.
And you're like, well, I'm going to keep a jug in my car too.
Yeah.
And because you couldn't get it anywhere else.
Right.
And so you're like, well, this is just sort of fun. And then it wasn't really for many years after that where I feel like the term craft kind of became a household name, and then that gets associated with all sorts of other social ideas. But, early it was just like, oh, this is fun, and this is fun. And I think that's still the same spirit to now, but
yeah. At least it
there's
should
so
be.
many more choices.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, one of the first ever for me was Kilt Lifter and Anchor Steam.
Nice. Okay, there you go. So with Kilt Lifter being the first, just to fast forward, did that bother you when Four Peaks went?
I mean, it definitely had
Just to skip around.
impact.
Yeah,
it's a huge impact.
Yeah, of course. But on a personal level, I mean, especially if Kilt Lifter got you started, that's a bummer.
Well, it's meaningful for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weight there. It's like those guys being such a legacy brand for Arizona. I mean, they're the best thing that ever happened to Arizona beer, and I think that they establish their value by being great at what they do. They're great people that run that company, and to see them create the value that they did, that part doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, right.
I think the people that run that business are and continue to be wonderful and great for Arizona beer and everything else. The AB component is heavy. It's heavy and it's big, and it's like it's not really a Four Peaks thing as it is an AB thing.
Right.
And you're like, we've got our passions about AB.
Yeah.
And it could, because it's not like hate speech, but this is our business. This is what we do, and we feel on a day-to-day like the real impact of that influence in the market, and we live and die by it.
Absolutely.
So when you're in the business, you can't not acknowledge this behemoth in the room.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's what we like to drink, and then there's all that stuff.
Yeah.
Preferences, and then when you're in the business, you can't not live in the shadow of that company, and so of course we have our passions about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can come back to that, but first brew for you, Jason. Or at least roughly.
So, like him, I kind of grew up drinking some not so good stuff, but it's very similar to him. The first, even though it's not really craft, the first one that really kind of got me into a higher quality of beer was Killian's Irish Red.
Right.
Actually, to the point where I named one of my dogs Killian.
Nice.
When I was like 18.
Nice.
But then it grew from there to Two Hearted. Really got me into that style, and then also just Dale's Pale Ale.
Right. Yep.
Is kind of the entry gateway to me into this. And now it's like, obviously I still drink those every once in a while, but it's like so much bigger.
It's evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big crazier than that.
Being from Michigan, I was actually pretty happy that Two Hearted is the top IPA
Yeah,
now.
they're number one now.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And I love Two Hearted. They were delicious.
All right, Dylan, you're up.
All right. So for me, it's
Get right up on that bad boy. You can yank it right towards you. There you go.
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect. There you go.
We started this. Dave and I've been doing this for 3. We're talking about last night. 4 years. 4 years now.
It'll be 5 in. It'll be 5 in
5 in
February.
January. Yeah,
5
5
years?
in February.
Yeah.
We've been working together in this project, and I got in when I was 21.
Right.
So obviously hadn't drank before that.
yeah. Not a
even one
drop.
drop.
Like all of us in the room.
Yeah.
At least there's one law-abiding citizen.
Right.
Yeah.
Goddamn scoundrels over here.
Hey, the statute of limitations has passed on my crimes.
But it's interesting, going to ASU, doing the whole thing. You drink for shit beer. That's what you do in college, right?
Yeah.
And I had a roommate. Actually, I'm gonna go see him later today. Who was always into craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to try this. I got to try that. So we kind of we drank stuff together, and that was fun. But the first beer for me was Old Chub from Oscar Blues.
Oh, nice.
Dude, I couldn't get enough of that beer. There's this place that had it just like 2 blocks down from where I live here in Tempe. I swear every weekend it was just, that's all I wanted to drink. I think I was like the best Oscar Blues salesperson for a good year. I think I sold more beer than anybody else for them. And then Dale's Pale Ale, and I went through their whole portfolio. And then now it's just like, you just can't even decide what your favorite beer is. From day to day it changes. From hour to hour, it's like,
Well, it's like asking somebody to pick their favorite kid kind of thing, right? And if you have kids, they're like, yeah, sorry, I got one, so I'm okay. But so is Nate. But if you have more than one, sorry.
I feel like you should be able to choose.
Let's all go around the room and choose.
Well, it's like, it's always, like the consultant's answer, I'm always the it depends guys. Well, it depends. Am I day drinking? Did I start in the morning? If it's after 4, I have all these different beers lined up for, is it over 110 degrees?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, where am I at right now?
Yeah. It's cool, though. It's cool to see it evolve into that. Because even, 4 years ago, it was like you'd go to your local convenience store and it was just kind of one of each. And now it's like, holy shit, dude, spend an hour here to find just what I want to drink for the weekend, which is great, though.
Yeah.
It's a horrible problem to have, I guess.
It's a horrible problem, but it's cool to see, I just found Old Chub because it was there.
Yeah.
And it happened to be delicious, and I loved it. But the evolution from then to now, even just 4 years, is unbelievable.
Yeah, now a lot of times your favorite brewery releases cans for you to pick up over the weekend.
Yeah, and then you never see that beer again.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Which is cool, though.
Exactly,
I think
absolutely.
it's totally awesome.
So actually, I've been seeing a lot of advertising around town that says some brewers brew beer the hard way. Do you guys brew the beer the hard way, I guess? What does that even mean, though? That's what I really want to know.
I got to take a stab at this.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, well,
I think that whole slogan is so funny to me, and I think that what that slogan just tells over and over and over again about the AB branding, the schema, is that there's no passion or love behind anything that they do. We brew it the hard way. Well, anybody can do anything the hard way.
Right.
That's not doing it the smart way.
What
you
does
freaking
that
moron.
mean?
Like, you guys are one of the biggest companies in the world, and you want to do it the hard way?
It doesn't make any sense, right?
No.
You got to admit it's a little bit harder to come up with a recipe that you have to run through some corporate conglomerate to get approved
All the red
for
tape.
Absolutely.
before you can actually put all those ingredients and start brewing them. So
and
I mean,
This slogan right here for me is the reason why everybody talks crap about AB.
Yeah.
When Heineken finished their purchase of Lagunitas, did anybody say anything?
No.
I'm sure
Like,
a few
they
people had
put
choice
the
words.
target on their back,
Yeah.
and their marketing team should all be fired because it's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Awful.
Nobody's talking about Duvel. Nobody's talking about Miller Coors. AB put the target on their back, and I think
even
it's
the
so.
Constellation thing.
Yeah,
Right.
the Constellation thing
Do you-
folds into the AB portfolio. Like, are you kidding me?
Do you think there's a way though they could have gone about buying the breweries they have and not come off predatory? I guess.
I think if their marketing wasn't going at craft beer,
Yeah.
then people wouldn't be attacking them as hard.
Did you? I'll go right ahead.
The Heineken commercial where it's which one is it where they donate water to
Oh,
the third world country, and you're like,
Yeah.
you're just building your brand. You're not trashing somebody else. It's
Yeah.
like the CNN memes about Donald
Right.
Trump right now. I
Yeah.
can't get enough of that. I think it's hilarious. Like,
Right.
he's wrestling him or whatever.
Yeah.
They did that to themselves.
it's funny you were talking about that though, because now we have you have the joke of the ABInBev buyout that they're surprised at all this uproar, and then they have the audacity to post this video all over the place of like 6 points from the high end, and it's like you guys just keep falling on your sword. It's like now you have all these freaking high-end breweries that you bought out, and you have all these guys that are obviously in the same room in a place that you've obviously flown them to say, hey, you guys got to make this video to tell everyone that we're not the bad guys. And it's like, I don't think that had the effect they wanted it to.
Yeah.
And didn't they seem mad? Didn't
all
they just
seemed
seem
really
a little
upset.
miffed
Walt,
in that video?
Why so mad, bro?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he looked like he was about to go.
Walt was really pissed, and the one guy who says that don't mean shit, that label don't mean shit to me.
This isn't punk rock. Punk rock's using no labels. So
Oh man,
there was some
definitely
good
that reaction
sound clips.
video. I mean, at the rate it came out, and the tone of the
It
whole
was
thing.
quick.
Well, they're
Right.
Yeah.
It comes from a posture of defense, right? It was almost as though right before the camera was turned on, they're all in a room yelling at each other or something.
Yeah.
Because they're taking, and I can't believe that a marketing person shot all that footage, edited it together, watched it with some supervisor of some kind, and said, "Yep, those are the
Let's-
cuts. That we nailed it, and we're putting that
get
out
it
to the
outta
world."
here.
That's the
because
one.
that makes us look
That's the
like
one.
the position we want to look. I look at it and go, the best thing that ever happened to craft is those guys keep talking.
Oh
This is
yeah.
the best thing that ever
awful.
happened
Exactly.
because
They certainly make it easy.
they they fire all the shots, and you look at it, and I think in craft and and those that are passionate about what it not only means to be in craft beer,
Yeah.
right, but what craft beer has come to represent in terms of business. What's really important, we're coming out of a recession, right? I mean, using my quote fingers here.
Right.
Economists might disagree with me.
For anybody listening right now, cold fingers.
But we're in a time in this world where people have had, like a lot of people have had everything taken away from them in the last 10 years, right?
Absolutely.
And some people haven't gotten that back. There was a time in a season where you couldn't afford every luxury, and you couldn't just be okay with the things that are presented to you. You go through a season where your dollar matters, right? And where it comes from and who.
It's the only way you get to vote in some instances is with your dollar.
Dude, it's the most powerful vote you've got is with your buck. And so people start to care about who makes their stuff. Where do my breakfast eggs come from?
Absolutely.
Who makes my granola? I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
making this up.
absolutely.
As we go. But then you start to think about beer. You look
Local.
at that and go, it's like, hey, I can get a high quality product. I can get something that I can participate in. It brings joy to my life beyond just what I'm consuming. But it matters to me who makes it and where that money goes. So it's like craft has become such an amazing icon for that mentality, which is not just beer centric. It's a cultural shift. And it's like, dude, I can enhance and improve my own neighborhood, my own community or whatever by being conscious and aware of where those dollars go.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the AB thing, I can think of no grander example of that in this world. And that video that we're all talking about, the 6 points from the high end, they're saying, well, I'm hoping we could just get back to talking about beer. As though they're defending some
So that we don't
argument
lose to wine and spirits.
Yeah, which is
if we don't
so
stop
silly.
talking about each other, we're going to lose to them.
Yeah.
Which is a joke to me.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
huge joke.
there's a time and a place for all those beverages. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I don't see any reason for it to be a fight in general. It's a quick,
Yeah. But, you know, I think that there's this have your cake and eat it too mentality that is being asked. It's an agenda that's being asked of those guys to present. And I'm curious as to whether or not they believe it sincerely for themselves. But they're projecting into the world, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Just sweep it under the rug.
It's all about how it tastes.
Just beer, and it's all just, it doesn't matter. And the thing of it is like, I get that position, but it does matter. It does matter very, very much to me and to the people I know and to the supporters of this business, is that matters to them that those dollars go other places. I was traveling recently in the Caribbean, and they have a beer where I was that was the national beer. It's the island beer.
Yeah.
And it's all the marketing material is very deceptive, and it's like, it's brewed right here and this thing, and support us, and it's the island beer. And so I'm curious, right? So I start looking at it on my phone, and come to find out that the building that's promoted, the location in that place and that town, doesn't exist. It's a shell of a building, and it's actually brewed by AB in Brooklyn, New York.
Nice.
Of course.
And you go down there and you're like, hey, I'm trying the local beer. Nope. It's brewed the hard way in Brooklyn, New York.
The island paradise of Brooklyn.
Yeah, and you're just like, it's just a wool over your eyes. You know, it's such a charade.
Right.
Yeah.
And you look at that and go, man, I don't want to be. I'm not into it. You know.
Yeah.
And that's it. Is that video seems to be a response by ABInBev to almost prolong or avoid the third strikes. It's like, okay, you know, the news about the sellouts got people incensed. It destroyed Wicked Weed's whole
that funk fest
the
they
big
had,
funk fest they do. I mean, everyone pulled out. So there's that.
Cancel that.
You know, everyone's all pissed that you know they sold out and they have to deal with that. And then you know the Brewers Association come out with this label that are going to tell guys like me, you know, I'll stand there at like Bevmo or Total Wine and look at a bunch of beers. And it's like, you know, I'm the kind of guy that's like, did they sell out? I wonder if they sold out. And you know, I'll be the guy on his phone in like the aisle, like trying to figure out what's going on. The general public, the general beer drinking public, isn't going to give it two shits about that label. You know, they're going for a suitcase of Bud Light or Miller Lite or whatever, you know, and they're going to buy that. But the craft people, you know, that's, you know, so ABInBev is sitting here crapping their pants. It's like, okay, they're pissed off about these sellouts, and now they've got this label that are telling the layman that, hey, this is big beer, this is not big beer. And, you know, then they get these guys, it's like, you guys got to tell them that label doesn't mean anything. I mean, they're scared.
Yeah.
You have to have at least this many taps of Four Peaks stuff, and that may or may not bump you guys off the list. You know, you guys are trying to get your name out there and sell your beer.
That's what it's about, shelf space. I think, you know, that's what a lot of the arguments are about is, you know, pushing people out, you know, pushing local craft brew out. Do you guys saw that logo? Do you like it? Do you think it's a good idea?
Well, you know, one thing about the logo is the bottle's upside down, and it drives me crazy.
See,
It's a pour.
I see it as so people say it's a pour, or it's like they turn craft beer or beer on their head.
That's what I
I see it as an I.
Yeah.
Like it's for I for independent.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay,
So-
well, there it is. I mean, I just say that as a joke.
Right.
But, you know, to speak on the
Chris
video,
nailed
it's
it.
funny
Sorry.
that AB labels their high-end brand. They call it the high-end brand.
Yeah.
But we want to be called independent craft brewers, and they have an issue with that.
Yeah.
They're okay to label themselves. And
A
I feel
higher
like
end beer.
it's so ironic that
Yeah.
the video is called AB's high-end brand. If the beer was speaking for itself, it wouldn't need to be called
can
the
be
high-end brand.
We can be high end, but you can't be
but
independent.
you can't be independent.
But,
and
but
it's
I like that because if they're calling that high end, the craft beer that they bought out is high end, well, what are they calling their other beer then?
super high-end.
yeah, right.
The limited.
Through the hard way, man. It's just
Yeah, I
funny.
mean, it's
and,
retarded.
and we keep seeing these macroeconomic viewpoint. In the video, the high-end video, they do have a very valid point. The wine and spirits are gaining ground. But the reason why they're shifting blame to that is because if the industry of beer isn't growing, then the only people that we can go after are the big people.
Right.
And it's a lot of the reason why these huge national brands are having problems. Their numbers are falling. Sam Adams is falling down. You know, those guys have fought the battle for years. They've fought the fight, and they've won, and they're huge. But people like us are happening to encroach in their territory, and same with AB. So they got a blame shift, and it's just ticky-tacky.
I agree, but I think a lot of places like Sam Adams, I just think they're too big. They're too big, and people are too like Dave was saying, it's all about local now. And I don't care. Sam Adams, Boston Beer Company, they're huge.
Well,
it doesn't feel local.
And you're from back east, so I mean,
Boston.
for saying that is...
When I'm in Boston and I'll be there in 2 weeks, it doesn't feel local to go have a shipyard beer. Whether it most likely is or not, I mean, I want to go over to Night Shift or Trillium, whatever is in Boston, whatever I can get local right there.
Yeah, and Dave and I, when we were out of town, we got into a conversation, and it was about, well, how do you stay up with the trends? How do you stay on the cutting edge? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Are you just shooting in the dark and hopefully something hits? Are you... what are you doing? Are you just making styles like New England style IPAs?
You're just staying with the latest and
Yeah,
greatest.
are you just keeping your ear to the ground? Like, what is that strategy? And these guys are so big now that they can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
They're planning a year out.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're a year behind on everything.
Absolutely.
And so I think they're losing a lot of that mobility that people, like you mentioned it before we started, Tired Hands or, Half Acre or all these guys, and they're just crushing it time and time again because they are able to pivot whatever way they want. And that, to me, that's what craft beer is.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we were talking to Renhouse is telling us we talked to them, well, when are you guys going to be in like 5 years or whatever? And they were saying, we don't know where we're going to be next week kind of thing. They're 5 days is like, a long time for them. So, I mean, is that something that you guys are the same kind of aspect, or... I mean, are you that far out like how Sam Adams is, or are you?
I think
somewhere?
Dylan makes an excellent point when you talk about the ability to pivot. If you're working in multi-state or a multi-region, you consider that your territory. You're as a top 50 craft brand. That's a burden, of responsibility to be able to like coordinate all the pieces of the puzzle. It's just a logistical conundrum, and some people do it quite successfully, but I think that lends itself to a strength for a hyper local brand, because they just don't have as many components to coordinate, and so you can move faster, and then that becomes the strength of craft, is like how quick you can pivot on things and try something new. So for the moment anyway, that's a total strength,
right?
And it's definitely something that we enjoy. In terms of planning and all that, it's like 5 days seems kind of insane. And a year out seems really sluggish and slow. I mean,
yeah,
we're in a position here where we've got some hardware we can work with. We could, we've designed and built what we consider to be the best we can afford, and we put 5 years of brain juice into designing this thing so we can produce what we want to produce.
So do you guys kind of want to get into that? I mean, it's called the Shop Beer Company now, but it started out as at Cartel, which is a coffee company here in Arizona, right? And you were part owner for that, Dave?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the flyby on that was originally there was 5 of us that were the ownership for Cartel, and Jason sitting here was GM of all the coffee components. So we worked together in coffee first. Through that project, we were always trying to be very sensitive to the local, like the neighborhood we were in, like hypersensitive to that. So not in a way that's sensitive in a negative way, but sensitive in the sense that we sort of let the regulars sort of form and shape the culture of the shops, So it's cafe, right? So it's coffee focused, pastries and sandwiches, things like that.
Yeah.
But in response to local talent, we try to create room purposefully of saying, hey, if people show up with talents and energy and time, hey, showcase what you want to do here. So sometimes that's in the form of art, or we started a bakery because we got to know some people that were terrific bakers. So we started doing all of our own in-house pastries, and that was a terrific program. So fast forward 2 years, we did a commissary and another baking facility and had a kitchen, and let that become a part of the business. Roasting coffee was that way and it's still that way there. But the brewery was one of those projects. And so we tried lots of little ancillary, because it was kind of fun. And
Right.
we all kind of have undiagnosed ADD. So, so we're always doing different stuff.
So do we. That's what we have to show.
Treat it
So-
with beer.
And so actually the brewery started out that way, like as a we have extra space. We've got a few of us were really passionate about the idea, but we didn't really have like a formal business plan, using my quote fingers here.
Air quotes.
We just thought this will be cool. Let's go and do it. And so that's what we did. Like a lot of the projects that we'd worked on, we had pushed and pushed and pushed, and some have success and some kind of fizzle and fade. But there was a few of us that was pretty magnetic for right away. And so we just started pushing and pushing and pushing. And
I mean, I was going to ask you a question about that. I mean, was it always the plan in your head as a person to open a brewery at some point in life? Were you working towards that, or was it just something that kind of felt right once you got with the group you were with?
It was always, it's something I've always fantasized
Like
about.
the dream, right? It was
Like-
always a dream.
Well, so I thought I was going to go be a dentist. That's what I wanted to be.
It's like the second
Nice.
person that thought I could be a dentist.
I wanted to be a dentist.
That's so
And
funny.
yeah, I thought it was going to be cool. And so I got a science degree at Arizona State, and I thought, well, I have to get a science degree to go on to school, but I'll try to slant it towards something I like. So I started out as a chemist,
Nice.
and then graduated as a nutritional biochemist.
Okay.
So I had homebrewed a little bit in college and learned about brewing just by hanging out at the homebrew store.
Right.
But that was kind of it. So I'd gotten this taste, and I'd always loved. I mean, I fell in love with beer really early in life, and but it wasn't till years and years and years later where it's like the right Venn diagram of you meet some cool people and you have a space and
Yeah.
the components come together, and so it just like the ingredients were there.
Right.
So yeah, you get those fantasies about starting something.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think the best projects are the ones where you don't necessarily know what the hell's going to happen.
Right.
And you just start like, I can't put this down. I can't quit you.
Yeah. Right. Perfect. So you started brewing over at Cartel. I mean, and I read an article you did. I forget with who, but you said basically the choice was to stop or grow. You were going to have to get a new spot at some point. You were like we talked before this. You were outgrowing your space at a pretty rapid pace.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
and
I mean,
it
we
was
worked
time to
hard
go.
And for clarification, I'd fantasized about brewing, but never did.
Yeah.
I met Matt Johnson, who's our head brewer, and through Cartel.
Okay.
And we put a few of these components together, and we were kind of like, before I ever met Matt, some of the other guys at that business, we were all kind of talking about it.
Right.
Well, let's see. I mean, we got some space. We want to do with it. Like it'd be cool if we had a liquor license
Yeah.
here. We had a liquor license at one of our other cafes. And we were selling beer already, and so we started kind of kicking around this idea. You make some friends, you make some connections, and at that time I'm thinking, wow, shoot, I'll dust out the old book and I'll brew some beer. And then I meet Matt and I'm like, yeah, no, you're way better.
He can brew the beer.
I was like, this week I'll do the paperwork and next week you do the paperwork. And then I still do the paperwork.
I was gonna say, have you guys switched off yet?
We'll trade, but we
Yeah.
never traded back. So
How's it gone since moving? I mean, you guys said you're a year here in August.
Yep.
How's it been?
Well, yeah, so we're getting ready to celebrate our 5th anniversary, which is really exciting. But
Yeah.
even that feels weird. Like Dylan and I were talking about this last week, and we're looking at each other going, we feel like this new location for us was like a rebirth of, because we launched a rebrand at the same time, a new location. And
Yeah. That's right.
we moved our entire operation to this new facility.
When you came here, you ended Cartel and it became the Shop Beer Company. Excuse me, they not ended, but you separated.
Yeah, we
right?
kind of
You
like
became-
drew a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Technically, the two labels had coexisted for over a year, but
So Brokeback
So you said-
Brewery didn't test well with audiences.
Gotcha.
Jason, you said oh, geez.
I can't quit you, beer.
That's pretty good. What were you about to say, Chris?
a lot of pale ale in that one. Huh?
Really bad.
So you were the GM, Jason, at Cartel. Was it like a conversation you were like, I'm in, or how did that work out when you decided to come over to the shop?
So yeah, at the time I was hanging out in the brewery almost every day. I kind of sat at the 8-seat bar at the time, and that was my desk because I didn't like working in the regular office because it was full of women and they gossip. And so I'd sit at the bar.
Carved your own spot out.
So I'd sit at the bar with my laptop and make my phone calls or whatever while they brewed in the back. And actually, the assistant brewer at the time was a roommate of mine, and I actually hired him at Cartel years ago. So he had moved on, and they were looking for an assistant brewer, a new assistant brewer, and I was kind of burnt out on the whole what I was doing at the time, and I was looking for a change. So they kind of just threw it out there, and I hung out with them, even though I didn't work directly with them every single day. Like, we hung out just as much then as we do now. Which is, I don't know if it's possible, as much as we hang out. We just spent all night last night together, and here we are again. So, yeah, I made the jump and kind of fulfilled the assistant brewer's position right away, and kind of jumped in there on the 7-barrel system, which was 100% manual. So it was interesting. I'd never brewed before.
The hard way to brew.
Yeah, that's the real.
That's the real
hard way.
That's the real hard.
I'm still looking.
You don't know how to brew.
I'm still looking for what the easy way is. But, so yeah,
Just
I jumped
bags.
in.
You just drop tea bags in.
And walk away. And so learning on that system was a lot of fun. Learning for the first time on an actual commercial system, but like manual. That system being 100% manual I'm glad I learned on that before we jumped to this. Even though this system's pretty amazing.
I was gonna say, this is like state of the art. Up there's windows here to our left. We're up. We're just so everybody knows, we're in a loft area in your main brewery building. We have windows to our left looking out over it, and it is a badass site. I love the glass that says the shop beer company on it. That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's so neat.
So yeah, brewed over there for I don't remember how long I was there for. I think we brewed for like a little over a year, and then we started building this place out in the afternoons and evenings when we get done over there. And the cool thing about jumping from that to this and brewing on this is we built this whole system ourselves as well. Like, it all came in flatbed trucks and semis, and
yeah, it's no small
you're looking
system.
at the guys that unloaded it and put it all together.
Wow.
And I think doing that gave myself a lot more of appreciation for it, and understanding going from that system to this, and it's very similar process, but totally different.
I was going to say similar, but extremely different based off of the amount you're brewing now.
It's not like IKEA where it's like slot A, tab B, and 1 into 5 or something like
Actually,
that.
exactly like IKEA. They don't write a sentence.
But there was no tools included in this one.
There's like a picture of a happy brewer, like the thumbs up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you got to do. It's just
And
like
it came with like the proper screwdriver just for like the one size bolt.
yeah. There's one there's one Allen wrench for the whole system.
Exactly. Perfect.
It strips out on like the third screw.
It's a picture of your thumb and index finger for turning all the tri-clamps
Yeah.
this way.
It's Brewkia.
Perfect.
We start a new business all of a sudden. It's weird.
That's awesome. Now,
on that point, actually, it's and I don't know. Jason really didn't put enough weight on it, I don't think, because it's one of the greatest joys in my life and being here was that this building. We never could have done this project if we'd have brought on like a full-fledged like general contractor, yada yada. Those people gouge the market so much with like, especially when you're trying to do something custom.
yeah.
And so to get what we wanted out of this project, we sort of like leapt. And so we were forced into a position where we had to do it all ourselves, not because we wanted to or we didn't seek it. We didn't set out to do it that way.
You weren't trying to bust your ass
Right.
every night on your spare time.
Oh my God, we basically like just jumped with both feet.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, to get what we want, we're kind of unyielding and stubborn, in that way. And so we're like, no, we're gonna get what we want out of this project. We're not gonna do it halfway.
Nice.
But that means we're gonna have to be here together ourselves, and there is no plan B. It has to work. And so everything, like all the construction that you're sitting in, it's like we hauled the lumber, we hammered the nails, we laid the floors, painted the walls, hung the drywall, learned
awesome,
to frame
man.
on YouTube.
Nice.
And you can learn everything
That's
online.
so
Not
badass,
kidding
man.
about that.
That's so badass.
We would it was so crazy because we would finish up at the other place at about 3. We would come over here. We'd start there was always follow up from the day before. You'd figure out what your game plan is, and you'd just start put your head down and go. Saturdays and Sundays, and it went on like that for too long.
Yeah.
But a good 10 months straight of that kind of thing to get it to the finish line.
Oh yeah.
And including the equipment, everything. Like, we bring in obviously experts that would consult us and do the plans and make sure we don't do anything wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But
but you treat an architect.
Yes. So we had all those things where we had the right signatures and the right
Yeah.
the right line items.
Yes.
But when it comes to the sweat,
I was gonna say when it put the rubber to the road.
so while that was really physically difficult, and while that was a sort of like a labor of obsession, really, I want to say labor of love, but it's way dirtier than that.
It was extremely difficult on top of all that.
No, it was deviant almost, but obsessive. And so we're like, well, we started this thing, we can't not finish. And in every single aspect of this project, we had to do that. And so while it was really hard, it also made us, we know every square inch of this place. I mean, we built all the furniture.
I was going to say,
like,
doing it yourself.
So putting together the system, it's like Jason's talking about working on a 7-barrel, having to put every bolt, every tri-clamp, the system inside out. I mean, all the labels. Yeah. Hot water's going this way.
Yeah, right.
Other stuff's going that way. So, it makes it feel like it's an extension of our, I'm
sure it makes it a great deal more personal, especially when you get to the finish line like that, to being actually able to brew.
Jason hears a funny noise in the brewery, and he, like, his ears perk up like dog says treat. You know?
And I heard him. I saw him pull the headset off onto already. He's like, all right.
He's like, I know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
He just, we've loved on this place so much, and so it feels like home.
Well, that's perfect.
But after all that, I mean, opening's got to feel good, and the beers have been well received. But kind of to segue into you guys, your collaboration with Modern Times.
Well, hold on. Before we go into that,
let's pause out real quick.
Pause. We all have some empty glasses here. Let's get some more beer.
Oh.
And then we actually can kind of go into, we actually talked about beforehand a little bit about the history of this property in general. Kind of want to get into that a lot. So
sure.
let's take a break and
we'll
get
come
some beer.
right back.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to the break of the Happy Craftsmen podcast. This week we are joined with Rob Fullmer from the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. Rob, say hello.
How you doing?
Thanks for joining us on the break. We're having Rob on to basically give us kind of an update for Uncoupling Festival that's coming on in Arizona.
Sure. It's the Real Wild Woody Festival. It's at the Phoenix Convention Center. We've had it there. This will be our 3rd year there. This will be the 4th iteration of the festival. We started out in Tempe Center for the Arts. Then we moved to the Phoenix Convention Center. It was the first beer festival ever held there in 30 years.
Wow. So I went last year, and I would say that standing in line in air conditioning for a beer festival in July in Arizona is probably one of the best things ever.
Well, that was supposed to happen the year before. There was a miscommunication with the Phoenix staff, and we've got that rectified. And this is a master plan to attract the Brewers Association Craft Brewers Conference. So we had to sort of break in the convention center. We had to establish that we have things like the Super Bowl here and Final Four. So it's part of a master plan to sort of attract that, and also we've secretly built a beer week around it.
Weird. Beer week. What?
Well, so the day before is the local Arizona Craft Brewers Guild Brewers Technical Conference. We have 7 chock-full hours of beer technical. We have a sales and marketing track. We have a operations track, and there's also some things for startup breweries. We have a couple finance presentations, safety, obviously the big picture stuff on the future of beer. So it should be cool.
So any Joe Schmo like me can come off the street and just buy a ticket to the BrewCon and then come into it and actually see what's going on and maybe mingle with some people.
Absolutely. And you might end up opening a brewery someday.
Possible.
So we're providing more resources than we ever have to get to that level.
Very nice. So, Real Wild and Woody was there last year. Bigger space, smaller space, more breweries. What's the plan?
Bigger, more space. If you're familiar with Strong Beer Fest, that's on 7 acres. Yes, there are some lines occasionally at certain areas, but I'm a little bit claustrophobic at festivals, and I like to have a little bit of space. I like to be able to enjoy myself, so we kind of keep it loosely tight. That's kind of more of a musical term, but so we want that same philosophy with Real Wild and Woody. So for people who haven't been there, it's Real is cask ale.
Okay.
Wild is American sour ales, and Woody is barrel aged beers. And we sort of kind of take that theme and extend it to the fact that we love the outdoors here in Arizona. So you come indoors. There are trees that we bring in. Those are donated to the city of Phoenix to sort of get rid of that urban heat island situation we got going on. And we have this year extended the space to the new suite. We'll have more access to the commercial kitchen, which means we have double the amount of free food tastings that you'll get with it. We have more vendors this year. We're bringing in some RV companies to sort of build this camp area. We have a rock climbing wall. We have some ATV vendors to show off their ATVs. Obviously, we won't be tooling around on those.
You can't. There's not a track indoors to go.
No,
tool around.
someday. I mean, I own a Jeep. I'd love to have Jeep come out and have the obstacle course.
Jeep crawl somewhere.
But in addition to that, I mean, so we're indoors. We have the outdoors, and then we have the indoors back. In the outdoors, in the indoors. So like 8-Bit Brewery is bringing a bunch of arcade games. So
And then I saw another company was doing like an indoor shooting range type of thing too.
Yeah, C2 Tactical has range games. I mean, they're not bringing in.
Right, not firearms. We're talking about. I mean, it's Arizona. I guess we're not talking about AR-15s or anything crazy like that with guns.
No, it's range games. I mean, they'll be like the little dart gun things, or with the suction cup on it. Nothing crazy. We should also have the breathalyzer guys there.
Oh, let me tell you what. That's one of the best things about Strong Beer Fest and Revolving last year. I was glad that they were there last year because it was like, you guys are back. This is amazing. And so it is fun to kind of go to those guys and to judge to where you're at for your limit and to come back. I always we make it a game almost to like try to guess.
Guess. Don't try to reach a maximum high score.
Right. Yeah. Yes. It's not like who is the drunkest. Let's not do that. But it is fun to be like, where am I at right now, and try to guess where you're at.
We've got a great association with Lyft, and obviously we're very hotel friendly. I think still, as of right now, we still have $99 hotel deals.
Nice. Light rail downtown, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're really close to the light rail. I mean, we take the light rail to the Phoenix Comic Con every year. It's right in the same exact stop, so it's perfect to be able to get on the light rail and just freaking get off. So
exactly. I mean, I think the danger is you get on the light rail, then you get on the airport extension and fly to Belgium because you're so thrilled with what's going on in the beer world, and you just want to take that. You can extend that vacation a little further.
For people who haven't bought their tickets, do you guys still have designated driver tickets? I know on your site it said those usually go pretty quick.
They do. We have to balance that a little bit. Just to get a glimpse in the financial side, a designated driver has the same impact as somebody who takes full advantage of everything. I know that sounds really mercenary, but we do use the profits from this festival to do things in the legislature. We've had some great success with SB 1030, which sort of created some blue sky in terms of growth. We can say that we have laws as liberal as California and Colorado in terms of brewery growth. Also, collaborations. A lot of people didn't know that collaborations were really difficult to do. That happened because of the Heroes 19 beer for Yarnell. Okay. We all brewed it at a Prescott Brewing Company, but it was really difficult to serve it in other breweries because they didn't have the license. So now we can share collaboration brews. And so you don't have to brew them at every individual location. It can be brewed at one location, and that brewery can serve it as their own beer. So very important. And the amount of collaborations has like skyrocketed. Like we had more collaborations that first year than we had in the entirety of 30 years of brewing.
Holy smokes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, that's really cool that a lot of those funds go towards stuff like that. You're not just doing, big festivals or whatever else. You're actually, like I said, helping the Arizona craft beer community in a whole. So
sure, the whole growler to be able to get growlers at gas stations, we had a big part of that. We helped out this last year some small businesses that couldn't do sampling like they do at Total Wine. We said this is ridiculous. Why can't they do that? Crowlers, believe it or not, that presented somewhat of an issue because the department didn't understand that. So we work with that, and we have a seat at the table with the other alcohol producers and distributors to work on policy issues. And those things aren't possible without us to have the assets to spend time on that.
It makes sense. I mean, I will say this. I benefited greatly from the growler thing. I mean, that was the best thing ever. I mean, be able to take any container that was sealable right to any brewer and not have to actually have that same brewer's growler and get it filled, which is great. And then the next year they amended it right to include any vessel, right? That wasn't clear.
Right. It had to be glass, and like we said, hey, we live in Arizona. I don't want to see, brown speckles of glass all over the place.
Yeah, this isn't Germany. We don't want glass broken everywhere.
Well, and all the glass you see, anywhere you see it is not small breweries at this point. It's so we didn't want to contribute that. We want to support people who want to take our beer to the wilderness, because I think a lot of us are outdoor focused here. So.
Well, outdoors, pool. There's a lot of places here in Arizona, especially during the summertime, that we want to be able to take beer and drink beer, and glass just isn't one of those things where it meshes well here. So
yeah, no, so all of those things and possibly more. We can't predict what the future is. There are challenges ahead. We've seen some things in other states. So we have to have a game plan, and we have to have a PR campaign to address some of these issues that might be down the road.
Well, very cool. Well, again, Rob, thanks for coming on the show for a small break. Thanks for giving us kind of update for the festival coming up. I am sure we'll have you on the show for a full segment, because there's way more to talk about than we have in this 10-minute kind of little minute break. But again, thanks for coming.
I would love to. And just as a side note, I think for a while people were saying that there wasn't enough things going on in the brewery world with Arizona, but I think we're well beyond that. And now my challenge is, I love that you guys are doing this. My challenge is we need some more beer writing. We need some more amateur beer journalism. We need to encourage our media to have dedicated food and beverage people that understand beer. So I hope you're a part of that solution. And so I thank you very much for inviting me on, and I hope to support you in any way I can.
Cool. Yeah, we definitely will.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Rob.
Thanks.
When we left off, we were talking about, all the hard work of putting this place together. And then, you get moved to the new place. You do a collab with Modern Times, and that ends up on Draft Magazine's top 50 of the best IPAs in America with Bingo Bango Bongo. So that's got to feel pretty good.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it's a thrill when you get some recognition, validation. That always feels good. There's a couple of things to that. Like, in building this place, us kind of doing it on our own steam, our intent is always to put in the work. It's like, and in brewing in general, I think everybody works hard, but
some work harder than others.
It's a hard business to be in, and it's crazy, because you could probably make more money and work less hours doing other stuff, but nothing's as fun as what we get to do. And it's made all the more fun when you work hard and you put yourself into a project, and then people respond to it. That's just the ultimate feel good.
Absolutely. To people to like your beer, to enjoy it. Absolutely. I'm sure that has to pay off pretty big for you guys.
Oh man, heck yeah.
Yeah. How did Modern Times end up back here with you guys?
Well, we've had I guess we're lucky. We've made some really cool friends, but
right.
When we did our launch on our rebrand, the first project we got to do was with Stone, and so that one was a real thrill. So we got to go out and brew at Liberty Station.
Nice.
And so we did the release out there.
Okay.
And they moved for all the beer there and up at Escondido and all that. And so getting to know the Stone crew was pretty unreal. Those
That's
were
cool.
longtime heroes, beer heroes,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know about that.
Yeah. Yeah, he named his son Stone.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, killer.
Yeah.
That's killer. So at that time, we were all working on the beer bill here, and that was big news last year. And so through a series of friendships, one of the brewers that was out there at Liberty Station is a Tempe guy.
Okay.
And a friend from here. So we kind of got together on that idea, went out and did a beer, kind of bringing attention to the Arizona beer bill.
Yeah.
And so, in beer culture, the collab thing is really fun, right? There's a lot of kudos that go into those kinds of projects. But for us, our focus was always just get better gear, work on every aspect of the business. It's kind of like a head down kind of hustle type of thing. So
right.
They're not necessarily projects that we go out hunting for.
Yeah.
But when the time is right,
whatever works.
We love jumping in with both feet and having fun with it,
Yeah, if it's natural for you.
And so on having had that experience with Stone, we were thrilled to have been invited to go and do that. And so then this next year, we were kind of just keeping our eyes open. And when those guys were coming to town, we'd been fans of their products for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And so we connected, and it just sort of fit.
Yeah.
So we started kicking around a few ideas, and it kind of felt right from the beginning. Like it's a cool group of people. So,
No, they're making cool beer. They're making good beer for sure.
And they're kicking ass. I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing all kinds of different things. And so it was just a real natural fit to be able to kind of like settle in, kick around a few ideas, kind of socially. Philosophies on beer were very
Meshed well.
I mean, well, Jason brewed
Yeah.
the beer. You should
I
tell
was gonna say, Jason, you were there. How tell us a little about that, at least from your end.
I mean, it worked out really well. I mean, we kind of started from coffee. They also do coffee.
Yeah, right.
We kicked around the idea of doing like a coffee beer in the beginning, but then we're like, no, let's stick to what we're both trying to do right now and go the juicy style.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every interaction I've had with them, it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, easy.
We've all been out there, whether it was together or separate, several times to their facility and checked it out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of their stuff. So when they came out, it was kind of pretty awesome to brew with them here, especially on our system.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
I think they were more excited to brew on our system with us than, or actually, I feel like I was more excited for them, but they
They were pretty pumped,
They
too.
made it seem like they were more excited, and we're like, no, the honor's ours. You know? But they were like more, because we sent them pictures of all of our gear and stuff, and
Yeah.
they were just like, no, we're coming there. That's
awesome.
I want to play with that thing. So
That's super cool.
He's talking about the brewing system, not
yeah.
just to clarify.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want to play with?
This
Yeah,
is a
the awesome
very
brew house out back.
kid-friendly podcast, so
Nice.
don't
Kid
say that kind of shit on the podcast. It's not cool,
All right.
man.
Well, drink up, kids.
Yeah, yeah.
There's my joke.
Yeah, there's your
Don't do drugs, but drink all you want.
It's good for you.
So yeah, no, it was a lot of fun getting to know Matt that came out and brewed with us. He's just a super rad dude, and like we really got along well with him. It was like we've known him for years, honestly. To me, it felt like that.
Yeah.
About these guys, like just from the minute we met him, like, and hanging out, like it's like
It's worked.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
we all, like it's almost like he worked for us, like,
Right.
Because we got along so well, like we knew each other.
That's badass.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We drank some hot toddies.
hot scotchies.
Oh, hot scotchies. I mean, yeah,
Ooh.
whatever.
Apparently a thing, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's a thing.
Yeah.
How'd you guys decide to go into cans? I mean, was that the goal from the get go, or is it just kind of like it just seemed like it worked? I mean, Dylan got that one.
Yeah.
We had never really done a special release before
Yeah.
of that magnitude, or we didn't know what kind of territory we were getting into. I mean, here in town, Arizona Wilderness is always doing them.
Yep.
You know, you're on the blogs, you're on Instagram, and it's like this beer porn is always thrown at your face, and we're like, well, why don't we try and do something? Like, why don't we try and do something fun? See if people actually give a shit about this beer, and let's put a full-fledged marketing, branding, let's push it out there and see if we can't make something of this.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's kind of nerve-wracking, when you
not
brew with
sure.
Modern Times. I mean, their beer is on point, like you said. Their branding is on point. People love Modern Times.
Yeah.
Like, people are rooting for them constantly.
Yep.
And to have that change in a brand and then to be paired up with somebody, it's a responsibility.
Oh yeah.
And so coming out and, just so you know, Dave does all of the artwork for all of our labels.
That was the next question. So Dave, you ended up doing the Bingo Bango label, Bingo Bango Bongo
Yeah.
label. That's badass, man. That's super cool.
Yeah, so he comes up with this shit out of his own brain.
I don't know
where he came up with it.
He's
So where he got it.
Well, so my wife, who doesn't drink craft beer at all, loved the Bingo Bango Bongo and church music from you. Like, she was like, these labels are amazing. I was like, see, she loves
both
them.
Both labels
so.
were smoking on those, and the beers are really obviously very good. But
Well, that's
yeah.
obvious, but
It's just really cool to have that and then to see the turnout. I mean, we sold 500 cans. I mean, in the grand scheme of things in the world of beer, 500 cans is...
It's cool to do that stuff in house, though. I mean, especially
for
your
us-
label, your beer.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing. Like, and we did it and sold out, 0 cans left, an hour and 15 minutes.
we were
And you're
there.
like-
Yeah, we were there. Nate and I
like,
were
what?
actually online.
Like, what? People care? And I think it just gave us the confidence to say we can push on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
We can really hit the gas with certain things, and we can be an attractive brand
Oh yeah.
with other attractive brands.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it was a lot of fun. And working with Modern Times, it was very much really exciting for me personally, because they're one of my top 3 breweries. But the way that they work together, it's just like this.
Yeah.
There's no secret sauce. There's no, like, hey, we just we work really hard. We
Yeah.
we brew the hard way. No, it's like they talk to each other. They are very collaborative and they're very open. We don't really hide anything from people when we want to collab. They don't either.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it worked out
It's not
really
about
well.
hiding trade secrets.
Yeah, and to work with them was really like humbling in the sense that they've really, really made a big name for themselves, but they're willing to work with us. And when they work with us, they're just normal ass people that like to drink beer.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Absolutely.
Especially to somebody you respect.
I was gonna say that's validation. I mean, for you, just that they want to be here working with you guys. That's huge. I got to imagine for your brewery.
And they're not walking in here like, let me teach you a thing or two about this. They're like, well,
Oh,
how
yeah.
do you do this? Oh, cool. Maybe we'll start.
Right.
Well,
it's just like it's a back and forth. It's
Yeah.
not like,
like Jason's saying, they saw your system and they wanted to come here and brew on it. I mean, that's awesome. That's cool. They wanted to come here and
It's funny when you have, they're like big shiny toys.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to come over to your place to play with your shiny stuff.
Like we've used ours. I want to come use yours. Yeah, that's super cool.
Well, I mean, I think that's super fun. And like to Dylan's point, I think it's amazing when the secret sauce that which would be a great beer name. I'm
Yeah.
surprised it's not a beer
Trademark.
Secret sauce.
TM.
Copyrighted.
Taking it.
Done. Sorry.
The secret sauce.
Looking it up right now.
Yeah, right.
I know Boom Sauce is one.
Yeah.
That's
Copyright.
Noah's got, like,
Hoppy
naughty
Craftsmen
sauce.
2017.
Yeah, right. You heard it here first,
Yeah.
folks.
Ooh, the shop Hoppy Craftsmen collab.
we still need
There we go.
the exclusive button. Where's
Yeah,
it?
we're working on it.
Remember that undiagnosed ADD that
Yeah.
you just diagnosed?
Yeah.
Well, after this,
It works well with us. Trust me.
after this,
awesome.
we need an air quotes button too.
Yeah, air quotes.
Air quotes.
Do you guys think that can releases and bottle releases are super important for breweries just growing, or is it just a bonus?
Well, okay, so on
Is it
that
for
point
fun,
about
you know?
art, because I can get on a soapbox here about
let's do it.
about
Hey,
art.
I love a good soapbox.
That's what this show is all about.
Soapbox, also an appropriate beer name.
Yeah, the soapbox.
Anyway.
Give away all trade
Well,
secrets.
There we go.
Hoppy
Keep
Craftsmen
a few for
2017.
yourself. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
like I said, we need to work on that Hoppy Craftsman Shop Beer Company collaboration.
Now you're talking.
The
Go to your
soapbox.
brewery and we'll
Yeah,
play with your shiny
yeah,
things.
yeah, exactly. We'll let you know. But yeah, I mean, is it super important for? I mean, you like Dylan said, wilderness. Every other week, every weekend, at least lately, your rent house is stepping up. There's Ground Control's got a bottle release today. I mean, is it important? Is it? I mean, or is it
Well,
just like a
I think
fun
it's-
thing to interact with your customers?
Okay, so I mean, we're a facility, right? We make stuff, so you got to make stuff and get it into the hands of the people who want to have it, right? So
Absolutely.
So there's a necessary component there, but I think what's critical is people have fun and there's expression in what's going on. So to Dylan's comment about there was a culmination of things, like in the past we feel like we've been putting our heart and soul into beer for a long time.
Yeah.
But it was a whole nother level of expression to be like, okay, we're gonna put our heart into designing something we really think is going to be great. We're going to do it with friends, and we're going to try to get it into the hands of the people that love it. And we're going to like use more components. So it's like the art component, packaging, preparation, all that kind of thing that goes into, because it's more fun, right? I
Right.
mean, it's like the more you put into it,
Yeah.
it's like the more you get out of it. And so seeing that you could make all those components come together, that's what makes the whole thing fun. And I think that's part of the story that people can kind of get behind, and be not even behind. It's like part of it. It's like we do all of this together.
Yeah.
So when you talk about bottle releases and everything else, it's important to convey the product, in packaging, right? That's necessary.
Yeah.
But people aren't just showing up for bottles it's a party. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. It's a party because people want to show up and participate, in what's happening. They want to participate in what's happening right now. I think it's going to be years from now, we'll look back on this season of Renaissance in beer, and we'll probably value it in a completely different way because it's so authentic.
Yeah.
And so when people pour themselves into the art of crafting a beer, right? They pour themselves into creating an environment where people can share it. They put themselves, like, art is super important to. I mean, it's just an important thing that exists in the world. Is people put creative energy into the visual. You know what I mean? Like the visual arts.
Yeah.
And so there's this playground. I mean, it's like the new canvas for. It's not art galleries. It's beer labels.
Right.
And it's so amazing to me, this explosion of creativity debunking all of these like 100-year-old norms And all of a sudden, there's the modern day art gallery. And so people are like, oh my God, I'm seeing post-impressionism on a label. I'm seeing throwbacks to Picasso and Marc Chagall, and I'm seeing modern digital work, and I'm seeing minimalist stuff like Modern Times and their white label.
Yeah.
I remember when that thing hit the shelves, it's like, you put a white label with nothing on it,
and the 3-word descriptors, and it's like
3 colored stripes.
Badass.
It's like, it's so simply.
I think Pure does that really well too. Pure does a really good job with their minimalistic just
super
labels.
minimalist.
Which is great.
And I see beers now, like you see these whales being traded everywhere, and I want them, but I want them less for the beer and more for, it's like, I gotta have that can. That can's
The whole
badass.
package.
Yeah.
The whole package is important, and I think that I love seeing that come together. And that was like a milestone event for us with Bingo Bango. Is like, it was the first time we were able to put the whole package together and really celebrate having fun in all those other areas. And then to see people respond kind of brings the whole thing full circle. And so seeing that people value and enjoy this game of beer and this social experiment, that's what I think is the most important thing. Is you can have multiple layers of expression happening and everyone can do it together. And that's like really fun to be a part of.
Yeah.
So the art part of it, like, so right now you're wearing a different T-shirt that actually has a Tempe logo integrated with your guys' logo. Jason, you're wearing actually your guys' logo, but it actually has Arizona kind of very heavily involved in it. Is that something that you guys, when you at least you, David, is that when you decided to create this company, is that something that you really want to help focus on too? Even the tap room downstairs has a lot of art influence in it as well. Was that really important when you actually decided to help create it, or was it more kind of organic that happened?
Well, I think it was always our intention to have fun. All right? I mean, we could be accountants maybe.
A dentist? Maybe a
It
dentist?
certainly wouldn't be as interesting.
Well, I tried to be a dentist and I got turned down.
Yeah, right. Oh, you didn't just say that on the air. We could just
It
totally...
was probably the right call on the behalf of the authorities. The authorities.
the dentist authorities?
The dentist.
Those dicks.
So judgy.
We're so judgy here.
What you do when you put people under is your own business.
Exactly. What I do in other people's mouths is not your business, Nate. Just saying.
So, how did the art go to this? What were we just
I don't
talking
know.
about?
We got
art?
derailed.
Okay.
Again, the ADD.
I could be wrong here. Well,
It may be a glimpse into how they named Fightem, though. I mean,
Well, so and we kind of missed the earlier opportunity. So Jeff and I were actually drinking that beer. So I want to ask. I've heard multiple names for that beer. I've heard first year in the making, or 5 years in the making.
Fight 'em, that's a good
right,
one.
which is I heard, and then I heard "fuck you in the mouth," which is the other one, and then
that's the first thing I thought when I saw it. I gotta admit.
yeah, and then but on the board it says "fight 'em." So let's settle this once and for all. What is the official name of this beer?
What do you think the official name is?
Fuck you in the mouth.
What about you?
Boom! That's the first thing I thought when I saw it.
I guess I didn't develop an opinion. I just went with the acronym. But I like you guys. You got me calling it "Fight 'em" or whatever this morning. I like that. That's pretty cool. So I don't know. I go with that one. Yeah.
we've
Is it just left to interpretation, or is it just
Yes, fuck you in the mouth. Maybe not be totally PC.
Way to beat a pussy, Nate.
super PC decision? My bad. I actually haven't had the beer, so I didn't want to. I can't really say one way or the other. I haven't ordered it yet, so it'd be hard to.
Well, so we've had a lot of fun with that, right? So sometimes you have a plan and you go out and you have a fully formed idea when you start out on a thing, and sometimes things kind of happen all by themselves. This is definitely one that sort of took on a life of its own. But when we were so this was the third beer that we ever came out with. When we first opened the doors at Cartel, we came out with our first version of the Desert Pale and our Coffee Brown, and brewing on the little 15-gallon system that we had, 1 keg at a time. It was like, okay, well, we got 2 beers. That's way more than one.
Huge.
It's way more than one. And
It's twice as much, in case you're wondering.
and so these were Matt's babies originally, and then and the third one, which we launched on the 5th anniversary of the original Cartel, which was in the first 3 months of being able to brew beer. We did this. He wanted to do the double IPA that today is Fightem, and he didn't have. There was no name. There was no thinking to it. There was nothing. right? So we were just in house trying the first like test batches of the beer. There's a few of us sitting around, and we're like, well, we're gonna have to call it something. Like, what are we gonna call it? And nobody wanted to take anything that seriously. They're like, dude, this sucks. We didn't get into beer so we can sit around and have meetings. Like, we just want to make beer and we're just gonna like put it on tap. And it was like there was so much ignorance in that. There was, bliss. But it was, you just don't know what you don't know. And so it's kind of funny, like looking back on those times, because we were just sitting around and literally we didn't think there was anything wrong with that kind of thinking. Like, we didn't get into this to have to think. We just drink beer all the time, right? That's what you do in a brewery. And we were totally dead wrong.
That's what everybody listening to the show thinks that Brewer does. We just drink in the
Oh,
brewery.
no, actually, I just lied. Well, that's all we do.
That's
all
right,
day.
there you go.
We just sit on
It's
the
a
couch
party.
and drink beer.
Yeah.
Non-stop.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, we never have to put any thought into anything.
Not hard work. You just drink beer.
Yeah.
Well, so we're sitting around in that session of drinking a 10.1% IPA, a lot of it. We're sitting around, and after an hour of trying to have like kind of semi-serious conversations about like, what are we gonna, come on guys, what are we gonna do?
Seriously,
here?
everybody stop.
No, seriously,
What's the
what are we
name?
gonna do?
Yeah.
And one of the guys in the group was like, dude, it tastes like go fuck you in the mouth. That's what it tastes like. I'm out. And he's like, I'm not sitting through a meeting. I'm drinking beer. Go fuck yourself.
But enough of this shit.
And we laughed so hard about that like literally that ended any
was
kind
it.
of serious conversation. We just went back to having fun.
Yeah.
And so that was just a group of friends having a laugh about, man, beer is so much fun. Like, let's just focus on having fun,
Yeah.
and the rest will come together.
Let's not worry about naming it.
And so we kind of just left it there. And we got kind of wasted, actually.
Yeah,
Just
perfect.
drinking the beer. And so it was like the next day, different people say, well, did you guys figure it out? Like, what's up with that beer? Dude, I don't know. We didn't make any headway. I think we named it F you in the mouth.
Yeah.
And then that joke just kept getting told. And
Yeah.
so we wrote that on our menu board originally, written fully out,
Right.
and which got even more humor.
That's awesome.
And one of our more sensible friends says, maybe you should turn it into an acronym, because that's not nearly as offensive as...
I don't want to order that.
And no, but actually that...
Can I get a fuck you, please?
It was just totally like an inside joke. Like, we didn't
Yeah.
think anyone was even going to notice.
Right.
But the joke kept getting told. And so we never actually made any decisions of any kind. We thought
Yeah.
we would totally change the name in a week or whatever.
Yeah, we'll
Right.
come up with
And
something
we'll
better.
come up with something serious later.
We'll just put that acronym on it for now, and we'll come up
But
with
people just kept responding to it, and they enjoyed the humor of it all. And
Yeah.
like,
Everyone kept coming in and saying, I absolutely want to get fucked in the mouth.
yes,
Yeah,
that
that's
became a thing for
Yeah.
sure. And then all of a sudden, we just left the acronym on the board, and here we are 5 years later, and we still have the exact same thing. So officially, we call it just Fight 'em with the acronym, but it sort of took on a life of its own. And so I'd love to think that we had the foresight to do something that fun. The reality was it was something born out of just sincere, like, the
Over
good
it.
friendship part of beer.
Right,
You
right.
know, like the let's not take ourselves too seriously. And so I think that comes through, like, in the art and in the beer, and when people are sincere in their passions and they work really, really hard, and they can not lose themselves in either too much hard work or too much fun, that process right there kind of, like, it comes through in everything.
Yeah, it
that you do.
shows.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it makes it fun. Like, and people want to, like, participate.
Yeah.
And so
I think it's infectious, and people want to be part of that, right? Too. That's kind of the whole thing with craft beer culture we talked about. Is that
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
wanna
we want to be a
it,
part of.
right.
I could be wrong, but I
Exactly.
feel like people can tell when you guys have a lot of passion in what you're doing,
Or when you're
And if
genuine about what
and
you're
if you
doing.
have, and if you don't have any of that, I mean, I feel like it comes out pretty clearly, and your product isn't one that really conveys that. So it's pretty
Yeah.
clear you guys care about it and you care what you're doing.
Well, we made the comment earlier, like, we set out to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we want to work hard because we get a lot out of that, but
You guys don't look miserable.
Mission
You haven't
accomplished.
been miserable to hang out with today, so you're either putting on a good front or you're enjoying
well, in the
yourself
second half of the
somewhat.
show, we're gonna be real jerks.
Get the fuck out. No, yeah, absolutely.
Just on that note, because me and Chris have talked about this a lot, we're kind of amateur homebrewers, you know. I don't think we have any aspirations. I mean,
You never know.
we like to
Roll
do it
those
for a
dice.
living, but we always thought we could brew something and either age it in wine barrels or put some grapes in it, and then we're gonna call it grape you in the mouth. So
Right. That was
if you guys are gonna take that and do a wine barrel, then by all means, if you want to grape someone in the mouth, then
Well, I'll say this: they gave us 2 names. I guess we could give them 1.
Yeah.
That's totally okay.
You should call it grape whistle.
I still have a buddy who thinks 3 men and a beer bee's pretty good.
we're gonna chain you to the radiator and grape you in the mouth.
There you go.
I have a name written down called the Bishop's Brown Finger, which I don't know what that even means.
Bishop Brown Finger. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
great.
thank
I
you.
appreciate
Oh.
you.
Perfect.
Prison grape.
What do you guys, unless Chris has anything?
No, go for it, man.
What do you guys think of beer in Arizona as it is, as a scene? I mean, I bet you got some. I bet Dylan's got an opinion on that.
Yeah.
And Dylan grabbed that really fucking
Yeah,
fast. He was like, I'm in.
me
Damn
that
microphone. Shit, bro.
But, yeah.
Wrong microphone.
What's your opinion of? Yeah, that is not a mic.
Can't go jerking that around a whole lot. That's weird.
It was big and blue, and I just got carried away.
It's something that changes all the
rock
time.
solid industry?
You guys are good. This is good. No, it's changing a lot, and it's changing rapidly. So, I mean, is the 3 people who have a front row seat, at least from your area, what do you think of it so far?
Well, we got into it 4 years ago. Man, it wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the honest reality, and I think even being more honest is I don't think we were ready yet. I mean, it took us quite a bit of time to progress to get here and to truly understand what it means to put out consistent quality product, a core lineup, and then now doing seasonals, bottle releases, cans. And I feel like our evolution, my theory has always been we're 10 years behind California and Colorado.
Right.
But I think now it's an expedited process for Arizona where I don't think we're that far behind now.
The styles certainly aren't as far behind as they used to be.
I don't think the state has had a voice yet for beer. I don't think, like California, big IPAs. You got to have an IPA if you're in San Diego or you're just going to die. Unless you're fall brewing and you come out with like the most delicious, easy drinking beers, which is really cool. And there will always be spots for that. I honestly think this juicy IPA, New England style, is Arizona's like moving forward beer. But overall, I mean, you're looking at like Pueblo Vita in Tucson. You're looking at Tombstone. You're looking at the connections and the limelight that Wilderness has brought here. Whether or not you like those guys, or I think they're great. You know, Four Peaks. Those guys made a lot of headway for us.
Absolutely.
Through legislation. It doesn't make sense to build a brewery like this with the previous restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
So fighting those battles on the legal side, having the smaller breweries doing the more boutique-y stuff, and actually being able to go to a bar and order a beer and not have an off flavor is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Off flavors were huge here 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Diacetyl was in every other beer. Oxidation was present everywhere because people didn't know. And the consumers are finally educated. And I think that's where the distribution companies really started to push big brands, is because they were selling because they were just better.
Mm-hmm.
I think the state of beer in Arizona has a really bright future. Like
Yeah.
you see what Mother Road is doing right now. They're crushing it.
Yeah.
Like they're killing it.
That's
And they're
true.
building a second facility, and they've got 3 beers.
Right.
You know, like
Yep.
I mentioned Pueblo Vita. I think they're doing some of the best IPAs I've ever had.
Agreed. Microburst is nuts.
Like they're super great. And
We talk about that a lot too. Is that, you know, people want these beers, these whales from outside, or we talk about Treehouse or Trillium, and we're like, there's such good beers in our backyard that it's fucking hard to like do those kind of
You
trades.
can
or
get to
like,
some
talk to
good
people
stuff in 45
here.
minutes here.
Oh, easily.
You know, being out on the sales and the marketing aspect of things every day, it's really cool to see people actually giving a shit about Arizona beer.
Yeah.
Like it's actually tradable.
I was just gonna say,
Actually
thank you.
drinkable.
Thank you.
It's
It's
actually
super tradable.
there. And the quality is people look at Arizona sometimes like maybe we look at New Mexico like what the hell is there in New Mexico? I mean, am I right?
What beer do I need from there?
And Tempe itself, and that's why we wanted to be in Tempe. That was it's a huge paradigm of our brewery, and what we want to do is be in the young part, the growing part.
Yeah.
But overall, like I think it's getting there, and the guys who couldn't do it, they're getting weeded out. And I would say within the next 18 months, there's going to be 5 breweries that you probably all of us respect that are going to close.
Really? Wow.
And I just think that
Makes me sad.
It is sad, but I think that it's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen all at the same time.
Yeah.
But people that are consistently putting out quality beers with styles that people want to drink, not beers that they want to drink.
Yeah.
You know,
that is a big difference.
Well, and we talked about before is that, you know, like, and you kind of brought up earlier, if you can't kind of keep, the great thing about being a smaller brewery is you can pivot, right? And the breweries that are smaller and decide not to do that, they just kind of brew the same 4 beers over and over again. There's nothing that makes me, I don't want to go there. Like, I'm not going to go there to try new stuff, or it's not going to get me out of my house at 10 o'clock in the morning to come get a fucking beer release because it's the same beer, right?
It's the same beer. It's the same beer all the time. And there is a balance there, like respecting the core, but then also giving the people on the cutting edge what they need to stay intact with your brand.
Right.
Do you think there's a lot of breweries keeping their heads in the sand like that? You know,
yeah. Absolutely.
Unable to change.
I don't want to say anybody specifically,
absolutely.
But there's breweries where I used to be huge fans of their beer.
Yep.
And as their production grew, their quality went down. You know, and you look at, like, you know, I should have said this earlier. We're talking about Sam Adams, but you look at Dogfish. Dogfish is still relevant.
Yep.
With today, with their styles, with their sequence ale. Have you had that? It's freaking delicious.
I know. I want to. I haven't
It's
tried
really good. Like, it's really good, and they're staying relevant to the local, and they're staying relevant to the national.
So kind of talking about, we actually talked during the break, you guys are actually having some bottle releases coming up soon, and talking about, like, you know, being creative and having those things that people want to come get. Can we talk about kind of what you guys are going to be doing in the future for some of the bottle releases?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think the through line on a lot of the things that we've been doing is we're going to do what inspires us and have fun with it in a way that is inclusive of, like, everybody around us, right? So we're trying to have fun together. So one of the things that we've been having a lot of fun with, and it lines up with the Real Wild and Woody Fest, right? So that's shaping up to be one of the sort of, like, the premier events of the year.
Heck
where
yeah.
I think some of, like, people are bringing their best.
Yeah.
And so
we love it.
We can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Man. And this year, it's grown every year, but this year it's kind of like taking it to the next level with the brew conference and then the event itself. So we've got a series of really fun special beers for that one, but we're going to do a double bottle release leading up to that event. So we've got 2 really special things coming out. So we've got a beer we're calling Sacred Union, which is a double dry hopped pale barley wine done in Pinot Noir oak.
That's so
Nice.
awesome.
So I can't wait to try that.
So it's a barrel aged pale, dry hopped with Citra, and so it's just unbelievably complex. It's just totally different take at, like, a pale. So super interesting. And then we've got our barrel aged Dark Adrenaline, which is an imperial brown ale with vanilla and coffee.
Dang.
So we did that one in with Knob Creek.
So anybody listening, this podcast is going to come out on the 26th. Technically, BrewCon will be this Friday, and then Saturday should be Real Wild and Woody. So you're releasing it on Friday before BrewCon.
That's right.
So 2 days from.
So a couple days from now, you'll be able to get some killer bottles.
If you're listening to this
shop.
podcast, get in there.
So we're really excited about these beers. We'll have some. We'll have some available at the event itself, but these are like pet projects for us, where we look at it and go, man, let's try something that inspires us. Let's try something totally different. And when you experiment and it works, everyone, it's time to celebrate. And sometimes you experiment and you lose, but I think if you don't lose every once in a while, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
And to that thing about breweries and their strategy, there's no formula that I've seen. There's no one thing, but what I have seen is breweries are a conduit for personality. It's a total conductor, of personality. And so it's like some folks are they're just inherently risky, and they're creative, and they're crazy and awesome. And some people are a little more reserved and a little more, and I think that speaks to the spectrum of available personality types. Not that any one brewery is crazy better than or worse than the other, but I think some people have an affinity to because of that conduit of the personality, some things are more attractive, you know, to you or as the consumer or to others, you know. Some people appreciate the neighborhood place.
Right.
Some people love the balls to the wall, no apologies, kick you in the teeth, crazy styles, and that's fun too, you know.
But that's great, you know. That's that big attractors, you know. There's, you know, like you said, and you know, we discussed throughout this podcast, you know, there's places that I've been a regular at for a long time. It's not that I don't go there anymore, but I go there when I know what I want, because you know they have like their stable of beers that, you know, it's their safe bet. Then there's all these other places coming up that are doing like all these wild and crazy things with, you know, like Brett beers and wild fermentation beers and putting like fruit and all sorts of other crazy stuff in these beers, and that's awesome because you never know what you're gonna get when you go in there. So the innovation, I think, is a big draw, especially now. You know, everyone likes, you know, they like the standard stuff, but again, you know, the standard stuff only gets you so far. And you know, I stopped going to places where it's like, you know, it's a one-trick pony. It's like they're gonna have these beers on tap, they're gonna have this food there. You got to change things up, otherwise you're gonna lose your customer base.
Mm-hmm. You know, and like you said, it's all about personalities. So, you know, whatever beer you want to make, right? I mean, you know, just to come back to you, Jason. I mean, what beers are you guys looking forward to make? I mean, in the future. I mean, where are you headed? What, you know, we obviously don't have the head brewer here, but you know, you have your finger on the pulse of that. I mean, what are you excited to make?
That seems like a dig to Jason right now.
Oh, is that right? Oh, sorry, my. He didn't take it like one.
I felt offended all of a sudden for Jason.
But you know, I mean, you know, where are you guys headed with your beer? I mean, what do you feel like is the next step? If there's any steps to take, I mean,
right and then the left. I
Yeah.
think. No, I mean, we've got a lot of things. We're constantly like sitting around talking beer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird. You think
Right.
we'd be accountants or something? No, we're constantly sitting around trying to figure out like what new stuff we want to experiment with, whether it be barrel aged or styles. I personally want to stab at trying to do a goes.
nice.
I
want you guys to take that step.
we would also love you for to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate them. I love them. We've never done one.
Yeah.
So that's on our radar. There's a couple others that I'm drawing a blank on right now that we really want to try to. I mean, we did a beer to guard, a year and a half ago maybe at Cartel, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind bringing that back again.
Right.
It sold really well, and it was a really nice beer. What else did we? Yeah, here, hold on.
Dylan, get up in there.
Conceptually, I think that like we take it to a few different areas, breaking down the styles that we want. Like bottle releases for us are gonna typically your barrel aged and sour stuff. So like progressively, like
You guys thinking about
months
sours?
out. Yeah, so we'd love to get into that. So right now we'd love to get into kettle sours and progressing that, which I think would be totally awesome. So doing our due diligence on that to make sure that we don't become only a sour brewery.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Which is highly important.
Well, then I mean, I know a lot of places that do both those styles have issues with contamination across things. So I mean, that's probably a huge thing too,
a lot
right?
of research involved.
Right, to make sure that you do it right, so you don't actually contaminate your normal production beers.
Exactly. So that's something we'd love to get into, and I know that we will. It's just a matter of time.
That's super exciting.
Barrel
For me personally.
No, and me as well. I love
awesome.
sours.
I think it rounds out your portfolio.
Yeah.
You know, also on that, getting more into the lighter side of things. If you come and you drink our beers, there's really nothing under 6.5%. Besides maybe 1 or 2. I mean, our release today was what, 5.4%, 5.3.
Was it?
Yeah,
and that's pretty high for a wit. I mean, it seems like
that's like.
That's the lowest you got, right?
Yeah, so it's like, well, you're gonna come here, you're gonna get a couple beers, and you're gonna feel good when you leave. I think that's a big thing. And then just
So you guys trying to go more sessionable on something?
Well, we've done session stuff before. I think they're great.
Yeah.
But really looking at lagers.
Okay. Nice.
Market
Do
trends.
some lagering kind of.
I see a lot more people doing like the Mexican lagers out here, especially in Arizona.
I think that's the next step of the market.
You're right. It seems like it.
Juicy IPAs, people like them because they're more drinkable.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where, in my opinion, that's where craft beer wins, is when craft breweries start appealing from your lightest lager to your golden ale all the way up to your, Russian Imperial Stout.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where craft beer wins. Because right now it's pale ales, IPAs, and barrel aged.
Yep.
And sours. That's the craft beer market in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting into that lighter side of things, but you can't only have just lighter beers.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at 805. I always talk about this. 805 is the #1 selling craft beer in California.
That's so weird.
But it makes sense.
I mean,
like like you can drink 2 IPAs, but you can drink 4 805s.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Right.
You double your sales on that.
Yeah. Right.
So I think for us, it's just rounding out our portfolio. Like we got the 2 barrel aged releases coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
More juicy stuff because people love it. I love it. I want to drink it. I want to drink it all day. That's what I'm drinking right now.
Right.
And then really, for me, I'd love to see really big beers come out around November, December.
Yes.
Like
Well,
big
yes.
Imperial Stout, like huge. And nobody's really doing that. Some people have tried here, but nobody's pushing
Not
that
much.
envelope here of just really, really big, viscous, like you're drinking motor oil, stout.
People who like your beer, who's listening to this podcast, should be excited, I think. I mean,
So-
that sounds awesome.
I mean, basically what I'm saying is every beer that can be brewed, we want to brew.
Yeah, right.
You know
yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean? That's
Yeah,
really what
true,
I just
yeah.
said. And it's a very,
Yeah.
like, vanilla statement of, well, we
Yeah.
want to brew everything. But
There was definitely some stuff to pull out of that, though. I
but
mean,
it's just knowing that I think a lot of breweries get comfortable.
Right, and that's what I was saying earlier is that there's people that have these staples, and like there's nothing wrong with that, but that you guys are willing to kind of go outside the box or do some things that you're not very comfortable with and try and experiment and have fun. I think that's very infectious for craft beer drinkers like us. We really enjoy that, and I'm sure a lot of people that drink craft beer do too. So
Yeah, and it's just it's always important. And so maybe some of this stuff takes us a year, maybe it takes us 2 years, but just know everything is on our horizon.
Yeah.
Right.
Because how could it not be?
Yeah.
If like we want to be professionals and we want to be experts, you can't just neglect the most drank styles across the world.
it's a good frame of mind, though. I mean, I think.
I
that,
mean, nobody's bigger than the industry. No
Right.
ego is that great. And if you just keep your ear to the ground and you say, you know what, we were in the Bahamas 2 weeks ago, all we drank was lagers,
Mm-hmm.
and it was perfect and it was awesome, and I had no complaints about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
why the hell can't we make lager?
Yeah.
So-
So now that's the next step for you, right?
So Nate kind of brought up with the Bing Bang on Bongo and the church music was 30 ounce cans. The release we actually had today, that was released today, was in a bottle. Are there plans to stick with the bottle, or is it going to be dependent on the beer, or you guys might going maybe to a 4-pack 16 ounce model, or is there any plans to do that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the thing is you look out there and there's you can see the brew floor and there's a lot of open space.
Yeah.
And for us to say that, well, we're good, that'd be the death of our business.
Yeah.
And it would be the death of, we want to represent Tempe
Right.
with craft beer, and we want to be very personify what we believe Tempe is. It's a cultural melting pot that we have in Arizona. There's not a lot of it. There's not a lot of culture in Arizona.
It's true.
There
It's
really
absolutely
isn't.
true.
It's totally
100% true.
devoid of culture and personality. So we get that at ASU, though. We get that here in Tempe. So we want to personify the tattoos, the people that want to be outspoken, but the people that give a shit about quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just described both of you guys.
That's weird. Not me.
For us, we want to be in 16-ounce cans. And we
Yeah.
want those to be at Safeway, and we want to be at your local convenience store, and
Right.
and then do the barrel-aged stuff that's going to be more boutique-y, because to me, that's where a craft brewery wins. And that, to me, that's what that's the standard,
Right.
in my opinion.
We were talking, at least I had a question, about what your guys' opinion was of the craft beer scene. We talked a little bit about it, but outside of your own bar, where do you guys want to go drink in Arizona? What brewery do you guys want to have a beer at in Arizona? Start with Jason.
Yeah, Jason, pull that in.
All right. Well, I'm from Tucson, and
there you
so
go.
when I go down there to visit my sister and my parents and a few friends I have still down there, I hit up Dragoon
Right.
and Puebla Vida.
Nice.
First and foremost. What's crazy is I met the guys from Puebla Vida when I was managing the cartel stores down there. They had just signed the lease on their property, which is across the street from the downtown cartel, and they were coming into cartel to have their meetings and stuff. So I just kind of I knew these guys because we were selling the beer at that location, and so they struck up a conversation. So I've kind of got to know those guys since day one, and I used to walk down there and order tap and bottle on lunch breaks.
More
Market
air quotes.
research. I was doing it for them.
Air quotes.
I was doing it for
Lunch
them,
breaks.
even though I didn't work for
Doing
them.
it for
Then. How was report back, man? This is what you guys need to do.
It's all for you.
Yeah.
Right.
I love you, man.
I can't quit you.
I can't quit you. Beer.
Jesus.
So those two in Tucson for sure. I love hanging out at and going to.
Yeah.
Up here.
Yeah, and more. So I mean,
Yeah.
just what breweries you respect as far as making good beer? Who's making good beer to you? I mean, that's really my question. Is,
Up here, I'd say McFate,
yeah.
Goldwater.
Yeah.
I try to get to Wilderness as much as I can, but they're kind of far from me because I live just around the corner from here. But
Right.
That's in a nutshell for me. I mean, I don't get out there a ton. I know when I do, I like to drink cocktails as well. So
Right. It's not beer.
Damn wine and
exclusive.
spirits.
Oh, they're the storm.
They got you too.
He's head of the armada.
Jason's the problem.
I'm a mole.
Jason's the
Sorry.
problem.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the Armada's coming.
with musket.
I love my booze.
Muskets. Jesus.
So yeah, Dylan, to you, who's making the beer you want to drink outside of you? I mean, besides the people sitting in this room.
Yeah, you'll probably just hear a lot of the same answers. I mean, we typically do things and drink together.
Right,
but,
that's true.
I've got a lot of respect for Adam Schmeichel up at McFate.
Yeah.
I think he's putting out some killer stuff. Chad McClelland over at Goldwater, love that guy like a brother. Super close with all of them, but the beer's really good.
Yeah.
And they're one that's pushing the lager envelope, and I got a lot of respect for that.
That's true.
I really like that. Wilderness, I mean, they're doing it. I mean, they're trying to do what nobody else is doing here, and it's pretty badass. Even to the point of I still go to Four Peaks. I'll say it. Those guys have been the nicest guys. They've been respectful, and I think Dave put it perfectly is love Four Peaks, hate Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I look at it. Those guys have been there for us all the time. They call us, they text us, hey, how's it going? I mean, they've helped us steer our ship quite a bit. Hey, don't do this, do this.
Yeah.
And they're the godfathers. I mean, they invented craft beer here in the state.
It's hard to disrespect that.
No disrespect to those guys ever.
Right.
And I will go to bat for them constantly.
We've had that discussion on here before of, who are you to say, I mean, who am I as a person to say that that's bullshit that they would sell to ABInBev? I mean,
20 years,
they
man.
made the choices they made to prolong their business, whatever they thought was best.
Yeah.
So a lot of people want to leave their opinions on that, but they aren't sitting there in those rooms
Right.
they aren't running Four Peaks.
I totally agree.
And you're
Totally agree.
you're not making a decision only for yourself. You're making it for other people, right? When you own a business, you're running people, and you might be able to do this, Dave, but you're not making a decision for you. It's there's more people involved in that decision than just you. So it's really hard for you to sit there and be like, fuck these people, they're stupid.
Stick to your, just stay small. That's what a lot of people want to say, but
Right.
it's you only have one life to live, and
I mean, you understand.
who the fuck is anyone to say you can't take a check because you want whatever
It is what
reason.
it is,
Right.
and AB's coming after us whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah.
But Four Peaks is they're rock solid dudes, and I'd never say a bad word about them.
Well, and
You can't, it's the people are of what
Exactly.
Right.
And if I was to go up to Flagstaff, Mother Road, I think their consistency. Like consistency is such a hard
Their
thing,
Tower
and
Road's nuts.
nobody talks about that.
it's
Yeah.
funny that's the one thing I'll always attribute to Big Beer is that they can consistently put out the same beer. No matter where they brew it at, it's
a real
always
thing.
consistent, and that's super impressive.
Even if it tastes like dog piss, it still tastes like dog piss.
always
on
tastes
either
like
side
that.
of the country, it's stained, it's still piss.
Exactly.
It's still
That's it's super impressive for the mill to do that.
No, it's real. Tucson, Pueblo Vita. I haven't been to Tombstone. Tombstone's
Yeah, I
putting
know.
out some killer stuff right
Right,
now.
yeah.
Right.
And what they're doing, I think, is everybody should take notice because I think that we talked about pivoting earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I would presume, and I don't want to speak for Tombstone, I never would, but my perception of them is they're going to just continually pivot month to month or quarter to quarter. And I think that's really cool, and I think Arizona needs that.
Yeah.
And I follow their blogs and I follow their beers pretty closely. I think it's a total win. I think that if you're truly successful, you should praise other people's success.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that what those guys are doing and what Pueblo Vita's doing, what Dragoon's doing, what Mother Road's doing, what the breweries in Phoenix are doing out here, I think we're getting a new wave, and it's kind of out with the old and in with the new. And I think that's really exciting.
Absolutely.
And I think it's about damn time that attention is brought to this state.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to get other stuff from other states here to have a good beer to go with your dinner, or to have a great juicy or a good barrel aged.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at.
And you said something earlier, and I agree, because you say, Arizona beer is tradable.
It is
totally.
tradable.
It's definitely come a lot
You can
higher
get some
up.
good shit for a bingo bango bongo. No joke. You can get. I mean, if that's what you're into, but I do it occasionally, and it's fun.
Important. It's important.
It's fun to do that stuff.
Because my generation, whatever Instagram is like, if it looks cool in a picture and it tastes good,
yeah, you want to try
it's
it.
the best thing that's ever happened. You know what I'm
hype.
saying? It's
Yeah.
like the coolest shit ever. and we're
doesn't
finally
get any
getting
better.
there. We're finally there. And I would say that I said maybe we're 10 years behind Colorado and California, but I only think we're a year or two behind now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
You know,
that was one of my questions. It feels like we're catching up all the time.
Easily. I think they said the amount of trade versus when people trade you. That was something I think that 16-ounce cans as well. They're very tradable for people, and so that's a huge thing for I guess beer traders in general is 16-ounce cans. I mean, 30-ounce cans is a little harder to trade, but people still do it. I mean, people still want those beers, but
it's the new wave. The 16-ounce cans is the new way. I mean, you look at Firestone, they go from the big, bombers to, what are those, 375 mil?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Everybody is going smaller
right. I think bombers
on
are
the,
pretty
on
much
the bombers,
right,
but everybody's
going away.
going bigger on the cans. And I
Right.
find that really fascinating, and I think that it's something that we should pay attention to as an industry, because I want to drink a pint at a time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
Right?
we talked about multiple times. 30-ounce
Oh, yeah.
cans is a commitment, and like I have to open a can in one night. That's a commitment for me to make to drink 32 ounces by
Oh, yeah.
myself.
100%.
That's a little tough sometimes.
But you drink a 12-ounce can, you're like, well, I wish I would have had a little bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just 4 ounces more. 4
ounces more.
I want a pint and a taste.
I want a
Yeah.
full glass.
Well, speaking of that, I am empty. Jeff, you're empty. Who else needs a beer?
Yeah, we'll take a quick break here and come right back and finish up a little bit.
Cool.
The teleprompter.
All right, we're back, and we're back from the last part of this this awesome podcast so far. I don't know where we're headed. Chris has got a few questions.
No, my thought was that we didn't touch on it in the beginning. And one thing I want to come back from the last
Yeah.
break was talk about. I mean, we talked earlier about kind of the history behind this
Yeah.
property and how you guys found it, and you didn't even know kind of what it was about until you actually were here. So, you want to go into that
Certainly.
maybe a little bit?
Nothing crazy, but yeah, it'd be interesting to know. I mean, this is a pretty interesting plot of land you guys developed here.
And we actually have. It's weird. We actually have people listen to the podcast, and we have people listen to the podcast that aren't in this state. And so, if you would kind of describe what the tasting room is and like that kind of stuff, kind of go into that. Anybody?
So you guys are
David
kind of
first
like,
had to decide who was going to tell us.
just to
about
frame
that.
that, you guys are kind of in the epicenter of ASU, which is always on some kind of like biggest party school in the United States list.
So,
Yeah, it's a pretty dubious honor, actually.
Party brewery.
Grinder top 50.
Grinder top 50. I don't know.
Nate,
Dylan
Nate-
knows all about that.
Nate knows all about that.
Tinder top swiped.
Grinder top 50. Thank you. That was the joke. That was the joke, right?
That
was Jason.
Was that the joke we were waiting for?
Nate's
done,
Nate's swiping right all day long.
I made one of those things that just swipe, so I can just walk away from my
Auto
phone.
swiper?
Yeah, it's like a pencil with a elastic band just whipping around. yes,
Everyone gets some
yes.
Also a
can't
great
quit you,
name for a
Grinder.
beer.
Yeah.
That's the name
Whenever
of
I
this-
run out of things to say, it'll just be like, that's a great name for a beer.
Constantly swiping right.
my the name of this episode is going to be
Yeah,
that's a great
swiping
name.
right.
No,
Okay.
that's a great name for a beer.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So yeah, I mean,
Well, okay, so we are in Tempe,
Right.
So we are just down the street from ASU, and I mean, almost a stone's throw from actual technical campus grounds. The property that we've got here is just a block and a half off the beaten path, which is not something we, well, let me say it the other way. We kind of enjoy being a little bit off the main drag.
yeah.
Which is kind of fun. So we are 10,000 square feet split between two properties. We've got a 50s era house up on the street front, which for many years was a house, was a residence. Over the course of time, a very oddly placed industrial building was put on the back of this property. It's very long and thin, has its own parking lot. and the two buildings don't really go together, or at least they didn't before we unified the whole project. So you had this like 30-foot high concrete, rectangle in the back of the property, and then you get this 50s era house. And so we adjoined the two with a big beer garden, and we have a silo coming for the courtyard and
a beer line from the tap room to here, right?
Yeah, what we need is a tap up in the office.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that would fix a few
work done.
problems.
But so it's kind of a fun mixture of types. So 1,000 square foot tap room with a wraparound porch. That it's the kind of place where you could like pull your horse or your bike right up to the front and
That's
rope
true.
it to the banister.
That's true.
Yeah, and 3,000 square foot of patio space and beer garden, and then another 6,000 feet of production in the back. So
And that house, you guys have done some awesome stuff with that house. That tap room looks amazing. All the wood, the rafters.
Well, so that
It's
house
so
up the
badass.
front, right? So we had to go through the microfiche film to, like you turn the dials to try to figure out when this house was built, because we were kind of
Like
curious.
from the
of,
movie when they try to find the murder mystery.
right.
Tune in Tokyo.
Growing up and like watching movies and stuff, I thought that was all the adults did was actually
Yeah.
look through like newspapers through microfiche. That was like, oh yeah, this would be amazing when I grew up, and then I never done it since. So
You never do that?
movies have let me down multiple times now. It's weird.
I've not solved any murder
do it all the
mysteries yet
time.
either, so I'm still working on that.
Well, so that house, when we got it, it was was being used as a general purpose tile and granite.
Because this was a
countertop
construction
kind of
facility before.
Yeah, I mean it was
Bare
it wasn't
bones.
really like a fully functioning property. It was kind of like a hodgepodge of a few smaller tenants,
Storage.
and they were cutting granite countertops in the back for kitchens and things.
Right.
And messy business, and then the front, which was originally a house, had been being used as a commercial office. Well, what we discovered when we got into it was we started like pulling down the drywall and all the stuff because it felt kind of crammed in, and we're like, it seems smaller on the inside than it looks like it ought to be on the
Right.
outside.
Like
And
the
what we-
TARDIS for
Reverse
our sci-fi
TARDIS.
fans.
Which is also a great name
Sorry.
for a beer.
Oh.
Just
I missed that one.
Which one? The TARDIS or the seems smaller on the inside?
Oh, yes.
Both.
Jesus.
One's
Both.
the sessionable version of the other one.
Just nonstop. Here we
Inside
go.
out TARDIS.
Well, so this house, right? So what we discovered in demoing it was that there was an original structure, and then they had just built another structure inside of the original one, I presume to avoid permits or something, because there was no records of it. But when we pulled it down, there was walls inside of walls and windows and doors and stuff
Weird.
completely inside the walls, and which was really an odd thing. And so it was kind of like one of those good episodes of like the Antique Roadshow where
Yeah.
they're like, hey, I have this lamp from 1,000 years ago, and it's like, it's worth $1 billion. So
I just pulled up. There's carpet and there's hardwood floors.
that's what, yeah. So yeah, and they're like in perfect shape. So we did that. We started pulling down the walls, and we realized like the place is built like a brick shit house. Like it's just
solid.
rock solid, and we loved everything about it. So we start pulling down the roof and realize the ceiling is inch thick solid hardwood
shit.
construction that was conventionally framed and whatever else, and the craftsman had done it really with a lot of care, and we come to find out that was Harry Mitchell, who later in his life became mayor of Tempe, where we are now, and then a congressman for the state of Arizona, and his son is the current mayor of
So
Tempe.
his son is now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so we kind of discovered that there was this incredible craftsmanship, and we wanted to preserve all that. It was fun for us we were going through the permitting process, and the boss, I guess, of our town, it's his childhood home. You know?
Yeah, right.
And so we sort of discovered all of this information sort of as we went through this process, and they didn't even, the family had kind of lost track of this property because there were some addressing issues on the street.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a sleepier part of town, and so it wasn't until we were done with the project, which sort of brought a spotlight to this whole area and this street, that they came back to check it out, and they're
Yeah.
like, so Harry Mitchell comes over for the opening, which was
I was gonna say they contacted you ahead of time, right?
Yeah, the Tempe offices did,
Yeah.
and they'd said, hey, if you'd like to cut a ribbon, we've got some people here that are interested in participating in that.
You're like, sweet. I have a giant pair of scissors.
Dude, I never used this giant pair of
was waiting.
scissors because I was gonna buy giant paper, but I never got there.
Perfect.
I have a hole punch I've never done anything with.
A
so.
giant one,
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
3-hole punch,
No, just
giant
one,
notebook.
Just one
yeah.
giant hole punch, not 3 hole punch. That seems
So it
weird.
kind of became a to-do.
Well, so they introduced the idea of doing this ceremony, and we'd never done anything like that, and so it was just a real honor that they came over and they started sharing those stories. And I think they were kind of feeling out how receptive we would be to the thing. But of course, it was a total honor. And when they started, so the Mitchell family brought their photo albums.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a cool thing on
That's
opening
neat.
day to sit down and have these conversations and learn a little bit about the history. And to some of our conversations before about Arizona and culture, discovering those things and celebrating like, hey, there's some roots here, and it's fun to celebrate that a little bit.
What better way to build that tap room in a building from the 1950s than some new build from 2015 or whenever you came here? I mean, it's so much more to it. You can feel it when you walk into there. It's obviously not new, and it looks amazing.
Well, we sort of were painstaking about preserving that. So when we said that we removed all the debris and we discovered what was under the thing, we had to bring it up to current standards.
Yeah, it still wasn't like, here we are ready to go.
Oh man, that became like, we looked at that and just our eyes just got super big, and we're like, we have to do everything in our power to preserve these cool aspects.
Yeah.
Because number one, it's just something that's fun for us. At the same time, it kind of felt like a sense of responsibility to be like, if we cover this up with plaster and drywall and all the common cheap siding materials and all this other stuff, we destroy a little bit of
history.
Yeah, it's a disservice for it.
Yeah, and so like part of that was it became a passion project for sure.
And you can see, you could tell, like I said, when you walk in there, the amount of this looking up, it's pretty sweet. It's awesome.
It's a fun place to drink beer. For certain.
Exactly.
So the beer garden, my wife would be very upset I didn't ask who painted the mural on the beer garden. Was it actually you?
It was, yeah.
Wow.
Oh my god!
Nice.
You have to come paint my house.
I was gonna say that's true. You did the
what color of beige should I paint?
You did the design on the cans up to now too. So obviously you've got some talent in that area. Well, that's awesome.
We fake it pretty consistently.
Perfect.
I don't know, man. That's a pretty dope mural out there on the wall.
It's awesome.
No, we all we love what we do here, and the beer is kind of what brings us together in what we do. But like all of us have passions outside of what we do here and outlets, and for me that was visual arts, large format murals, big walls.
That's awesome.
Rattle can stuff is something I've been doing for a long time, and so here the biggest need is like digital work, right? You spend a lot of time doing layouts and menus and label. There's just tons of stuff to do, which is a really fun outlet also.
Yeah.
But when you can shake up some spray paint cans and go and do a big something, that's pretty cool. So,
so especially if you got the talent to pull it off.
It's super dope.
Well, and for those that can't see it, we've got that 3,000 square foot patio and just the whole building to building.
Yeah. It's a wall that connects the main house to this main brewery here. And we'll actually grab some photos of it on the way out.
And I love it. I think that, like we talked about earlier, you said that there's the main house and then this weird kind of concrete building in the background. I think you guys did a great job connecting the two and actually making a usable space for people to come actually drink beer at and have a good time. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's like a sweet little compound you guys have here. It's definitely badass.
So,
I'm sure you agree.
So
I got beer and a couch. I never have to leave.
Yeah, and a sweet office.
So being, my son's 2 years old at this point. Nate's daughter's 1. Being in actually kind of more of a father or kind of that mentality. Before I didn't give a shit, but now that I actually in that. Your tap room itself, is it family friendly? Is it dog friendly? Is it kid friendly?
I was like, where is this question going? I was like, what? What do our children have to do with this?
Can we sacrifice our children to make a beer? No. But that's kind of it's funny because I never thought about those things before, and now that since I actually am a father, that's actually kind of important for me because I never realized how awkward or horrible it was to be able to bring a kid to a bar than it is.
You've got a baby
now.
in a bar,
right? I don't want to be that guy.
Before you answer that question, my background at home and like every other form of background I have is actually a photo of my daughter because she just started learning to walk when we came for the Bingo Bango release, and it's her under your covered patio there, standing up next to your picnic table, and it's like the dopest photo because it's a super cool area. It's a super cool area, and so it's obviously something special you guys have done here. But if you want to speak to your family friendliness, continue. But obviously, it is a family friendly area. But I just love the way it looks, man. It's so killer. We're
all about it. The intention with the space is we also have a stage in the center courtyard, so it's like for garden concerts. Nice. But family friendly. We look at it and go places like this are meant to be where people can hang out and be themselves, be together.
I was gonna say community is like seems to be super important as far as
Well, everyone-
just cartel all the way into the shop. It seems like community is a big part of what you guys do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do it together. I mean,
Exactly.
I have two
Exactly.
boys. We've all got families, and the most fun thing that we do is invite everyone we know.
Yeah.
Which is grandma and grandpa and mom
Right.
and dad and brother and sister and kids and dogs and everything else. And so it's like when the whole package comes together, it kind of makes that whole thing feel like comfortable. It's a place where people can like just hang out and enjoy the afternoon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
In terms of dogs and things, it's like I don't think you've probably ever met bigger dog people. I mean, Dylan's a cat guy, probably.
He's
Don't
like,
be talking no shit over here.
have the mic immediately. Fuck that.
No, I don't know if you've ever met bigger dog people over here.
That's awesome.
I mean, Jason's such a bulldog. If I ever move the furniture, he gets mad at me for a week. But no, I mean, we love it. You know, our space doesn't always accommodate everything. You know, in a space like this, it's a funny thing. We're in a space like this where everything's invited. You don't always get everything you want. You know, so like we've started out on this thing with like dog friendly patio, and that was kind of always our like passion to make that. But it isn't the biggest space in the world, and not everybody is. I think there's a lot of great dogs, and sometimes not great dog owners.
Exactly. It all depends on who shows up, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's not always incident free, but to the best we can manage it, yeah, we all inclusive.
Dylan, do you have a story to add to that?
About his cat. Yeah, he's a cat
About my
guy.
cats?
You-
No, I don't have cats.
oh, I thought you said you brought your cat.
No, the whole dog thing, we were like, yeah, dogs can come in here, no problem. People started putting their dogs on the bar and on our tables.
Oh, wow.
It was the most egregious thing I think I've ever seen. They
That's
would
crazy.
bring their full-size 40-pound dog and they'd be like, why don't you sit on the table with us? They just
Oh,
lay
my
down. And like,
gosh.
And then people would feed him French fries and stuff off the table, and you're like,
wait,
that's obviously not okay. Like you need.
that's what cat people do, not what dog people do.
You're not supposed to feed them table scraps.
We just lost all our cat followers on our podcast.
It had to
Thanks,
be a
Dylan.
small
Thanks.
percentage.
That's fine.
That's
Good riddance, those
funny.
people.
Your dad. No.
Sorry, I can't make your
That's
cat's
funny.
birthday. I have a dog's wedding to go to.
Yeah, people are interesting with the way they. Wait. We'll all just
That's
take
a great
that one
name
in
for a beer.
moment.
Yeah,
there we go.
God damn
Dave
it.
had to finish it off with one more. Hey, you can never plan on that kind of stuff. We were talking to Drew at Rent House, and he said the same kind of thing. They allow dogs in the Rent House area, and
Well-
I've actually brought my 150-pound dog in there, but
think
he's like 10, so he's super
You put him on the
chill.
table.
No, I did. He won't move.
Well, I think he said that there wasn't actually
What kind of dog do you have?
He's an English Mastiff.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
there wasn't a dog policy that people start bringing the dogs in and nobody said anything.
that's
kind
true.
of
Yeah,
thing.
that's
So
that's true. They kind of just went with it, but yeah.
It's
hey.
like, hey, let's go with it. It's cool. People bring the dogs in.
So yeah, I'll bring my English Mastiff in, get him up on a table. Like I said, he's about 8, so
It'll be a
we'll
little
need some
tough.
help.
It's like a full-size human being you have to lift up on the table.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No,
So
that's awesome.
Coming up, like I said, this is going to come out the 26th. So things that are going on in the future. I mean, I know you guys do a lot of like yoga stuff here. Like beer yoga is kind of a huge thing now for some weird reason. Not that I do it or we do it.
I love beer yoga. Not to interrupt. 1 year
This
anniversary
is
in
the
August.
perfect view for beer yoga down here.
Oh dang! See you next weekend.
Zing.
Damn.
The-
But no, I mean, so yeah, that's what my point was. Is like, what upcoming events besides, and the 1 year anniversary, let's get into that for sure. But what other events do you have people come to?
Yeah, you got anything going on?
Yeah, well, we're really excited about Real Wild and Woody. Got some fun
Yes.
beers to do there.
Sweet.
Forward looking into the fall, being that we're just coming up on 1 year here, we're just still figuring out what the facility is capable of and what people are wanting to use it for. So things like the beer yoga and things like we've had craft nights and garden concerts and things. It's like really cool people keep showing up with ideas and they want to use the space. And so to the best we can accommodate it, we just make it available.
And that's the cool community aspect. I kind
Yeah,
of
because people can kind of use it. Well, I mean,
Let's say you guys do like
That's
a
neat.
make your own growler night kind of thing. It was
Oh
actually
yeah,
really
that's right. I
freaking
saw
cool.
that. That was cool.
yeah, it was a cool group of people, and they filled up. I mean, we have our whole back brewery, so we don't have it full of tanks yet. So they They did this really cool setup where we've got a loud stereo in there, and they set tables up in and amongst the tanks, and so you could actually be on the brewery production floor, surrounded by 25-foot high shiny silver tanks.
Yeah.
And you can have totally unique experience. And so, using the space like that is a lot of fun for us. One of the big events, we just did a charity thing here last month, a Mandathon, and we had about 1,100 people here on the property, shut down the parking lot, and had a full concert festival, mini fest.
That was a pretty big fundraiser for you guys, right?
There was a bunch of different local breweries that came and hung out, and some other breweries, not local for sure, but
absolutely. I mean, people, the whole craft community sort of rallied for that cause, and one of our own had a brain tumor.
Oh,
and it was all of a sudden, and surgery and brain surgery, the whole deal.
Yeah.
And so while the surgery saved her life, there's financial hardship and things that you're saddled with, and so that was kind of a relief effort for that. But the rally there was unbelievable, and it was fun to see us throw a festival style event.
Oh yeah.
And basically throw a party, have fun,
use
the space. So we're looking to do a couple events like that a year. I think is probably as much as we can accommodate here, but we'll look for something here in the fall, and then big anniversary party here in the spring. So
I was going to say, one thing about your property is you guys got a really fair amount of parking.
It's very deceiving, right? Because
it seems like, to me at least, you guys got quite a bit of parking compared for the average in Phoenix.
Right.
So
I mean, I pulled by, and I was very deceived by like the front couple of spots. But you have a lot of parking past that in the gated kind of area that's open, and then the street parking for sure. But it was just weird that I was deceived.
Yeah.
So if we can't market people to, hey, come and drink our beer, it's like, come for the parking.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like that'll definitely get a few people. Yeah. I mean, it's like, are you
and AC?
Do you just want a beer? You know what I mean? Do you want to have to walk a half a mile to get to that brewery? No problem.
Beer, just parking. I just want the parking.
Yeah, never mind. No beer.
We're real big on parking on this podcast.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might have been out of nowhere for you.
It's been a sore point for us for a couple of times. It's weird.
It's so funny how many different tap rooms have absolutely zero parking around here.
Again. That's true.
You go to there's so many spots with because they take whatever spots they can, just like you guys did, but not nearly as many of them seem to come with parking spots.
It's awful.
So kudos to you guys. But yeah, the that Mandathon, that's awesome. That I remember reading about that when you guys did that. That seemed like a big success for you guys.
Very cool. So, I mean, at this point, if people want to follow you on social media, should they go to your Facebook or Instagram, or do you guys have Twitter, or where should people follow you guys?
Twitter.
The best place to follow us is Facebook or Instagram. Okay. Pretty much mirror each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that is?
It's at the Shop Beer Co.
Perfect.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah, so that's the best place to follow us. Events, concerts, bottle releases. Just getting that stuff going, and then we'll kind of build on that. And then our website as well is pretty up to date. So just the shop.beer, which is kind of cool that they have .beer now.
That's killer. The shop.
Yeah, so a little bit different, but it's fun. But yeah, that's kind of the up to date everything.
Cool.
So just follow us there and can see all the stupid shit we're getting into.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you can follow us on Instagram, the same thing, hoppycraftsmen.com or podcast.com. Instagram at Hoppy Craftsmen.
Yeah, and actually I'm sorry. I just want to thank you guys again, Jason, Dylan, Dave. Really appreciate it, man. It's been awesome. So thanks a lot for having us. Really appreciate it. So
thank you guys.
Yeah, dude, thank you guys very much. This was fun.
I appreciate it.
Good Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, right? So I'm Nate. That's what Chris was getting to.
Yeah, I was getting to that.
I'm Jeff.
All right, thanks guys.
Thanks for listening.